All right, I think we are on. There's a slight delay, so we're going to be on like 10 seconds for everybody else. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the Survivor Maryland channel. It's been a long time. I don't even know where to start. I always didn't know where to start to begin with, and let alone when I'm 3 months rusty. So we are going to get into a lot tonight. I'm really excited to talk with all of you guys and just interact with everybody again. And it's been a few months since the season ended at this point. So, you know, I want to do this for a while, pretty much since the season ended, and just did not get around to it for a few months and was waiting to do the Don McCollum and everything. So whatever, we're here now. Survivor Maryland is about to get back kicking into action. So I figure as I ride off into the sunset, I would do one more Q&A live stream to wrap it all up. But you guys have heard from me plenty, so that's why I brought in a co-host here. So here we have Mr. Danny Hoffman making his debut on the YouTube channel. So welcome, Danny. How does it feel to be on the Survivor Maryland channel?
It's been a long time coming. I'm honestly, because part of the reason why I wasn't allowed initially is because Austin fears that I'm just a spoiler king, partially because I knew the ending of Survivor Maryland All-Stars, and also because I'm fairly loose-lipped in the only way that matters.
And you know what loose lips do?
Tell me all about it.
They sing ships. They sing ships.
Oh, I thought you were actually going to have a good pun there.
No, that's just a quote. It's actually a Survivor reference, but well, that doesn't mean
or just a saying.
So it also is also a saying. Yeah, so I wanted to bring Danny in for a different take and to make it so I'm not talking for 2 hours in a row by myself. And Danny, for those of you who don't know, and some questions indicated that you guys didn't, but in case you don't know, Danny is my boyfriend of 3.5 years. So this is our our YouTube debut together. But as he said,
first and last. There's no YouTube channel. There's no Marky Miller coming. This is it.
Yeah. Who knows? But yeah, this is not meant to be a regular thing. But wanted to bring you on. So thank you for joining me in the hot seat tonight.
Well, thank you for having me.
And hopefully we'll get a lot of people back in the swing of things, even though they've probably all forgotten about Survivor Maryland. It's been so long.
How could you possibly, since my Twitter is dedicated to being a Survivor Maryland fan account?
Well, I tried to have like a more diverse Twitter, not a lot of Survivor Maryland stuff, but nothing I tweet gets likes unless it's about Survivor Maryland. So that just is what it is. I've already branded myself, and there's no way out. As I've said before, I want to make sure we get in off the top that Survivor Maryland, like I said, is coming back next week. We are 1 week away from the premiere of season 6, which is very exciting because for those of you who have been around for a while, you know that there was a long wait between Guts and Glory and All Stars, and we're not doing that this time. Season 6 has been in the works for a long time. And really excited for you guys to see that and to see Anders' work and to have some new Survivor Maryland that you didn't have to wait years for.
Yeah, no delay in content. That's huge.
It is huge. I cannot promise that will always be the case. That is a promise that Anders will have to be able to make. But at the very least, for now, we have 2 seasons back-to-back. So 1 week from tonight, Monday night, I don't know exactly what time Anders is going to be posting these. But there were some questions about the release schedule. As far as I know, the plan is to release it every Monday. That will be what's happening. So barring, I know that I've mostly kept to a Monday release for All Stars, occasionally had to take some break weeks. I'm not sure what that'll be for Anders, but I think he's pretty ready to go for weekly at a certain time. He is in the West Coast now, so I know it's going to be tough for him to figure out the timing exactly, but he'll make it work. So stay tuned for that. As I've said a million times, there is a new Survivor Maryland channel for the new content. So make sure you go subscribe to that. That will be where the next at least 5 seasons are, if not for the foreseeable future after that. A lot of people were asking, why did we switch channels? And the reason was that I just really never planned for Survivor Maryland to be its own real thing. So it's just on an account that's tied to my email address that I've used for years, that I have a ton of stuff on.
If anyone wants that private email address, I'm taking the highest bidder. The highest bidder will get that private email address, and they can email us whenever.
It's actually it's like my totally random email address, like the really silly one. So
right,
yeah,
which I know what it is.
It's very random. So we'll be using the other account for that. It is a little bit annoying that we have like a lot of subscribers, and now we're wasting all of those, but I don't know. If you're subscribed to this channel, then go subscribe to the other one. I don't think it's too tough. So hopefully when episodes come out, people will make that switch. Just search Survivor Maryland channels on YouTube, and I posted a link in the info section for the video I just posted. It's pretty easy to find. There's also a new Twitter account solely devoted to Survivor Maryland. So make sure you go check that out and check out Anders' content because it's Survivor Maryland, it's new, and it's going to be great. So 1 week away from tonight, Danny, do you have thoughts on the season 6 preview? We got to see 8 minutes. Everybody I see is chatting about it. Queen Shayna, Tony is totally winning. Obviously, I know what happens in the future seasons, but you do not. So that's why I'm excited to have you because
unspoiled.
You are actually not spoiled. What was your take on the first 8 minutes of season 6?
All right, so I've seen a lot of Survivor Maryland editing, so I know how to watch the edit.
You know that there are different people editing.
No. I know how to watch the edit.
Okay.
And there were only 5 people that got 2 confessions in the first 8 minutes.
Wow.
I just want to say so. I took notes, guys.
I just saw this. This is an extensive notepad for an 8-minute preview, but
there's a lot of detail.
That Danny did his research.
Yeah. But Dylan, Tony, and Kevel were the 2 guys.
That's
3 guys.
Yeah. They're
the 2 guys that had 2 confessions in the first 8 minutes, and Taylor and Faith also 2 confessionals.
So is your point that those 5 are your top 5?
No, I'm just pointing.
You're just
out.
pointing
for
out
anyone
facts.
who's going to keep track after the first episode is fully aired, and there are more. That's
who are you rooting for?
So I think in terms of the guys, I really liked Dylan. I thought that he could be a good challenge to that. He seems like he could potentially be athletic. There's a win there. I really liked, I think Swale and Abel were 2 other guys that I liked too. Swale I know personally, and that was kind of the reason why I picked him. But I don't know spoilers.
Swale or Abel?
I think I've met Swale.
You met both, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, be around Survivor for long enough. And from the girl side, I really like Taylor and I really like Faith. Those are my 2. But I think my biggest takeaway was probably that they're running low on people to play Survivor Maryland because they just keep casting people's siblings. So Eric King 2 and Shannon 2.
Yes, that is very true. I personally was offended by Miranda's bashing of Shannon's game. Like, I mean, granted, All Stars had not come out, but it just seemed very aggressive. And I am sure that King's brother was not just King in a mask.
I'm not positive.
Jacob or Charlie, whoever's using that account. Brian Scally says that you're an Edgic legend, by the way. You don't even know what Edgic means.
I don't, but Brian Scally's a legend.
You literally don't even know the word Edgic. Yeah. Danny is a casual fan of Survivor, which we will get into. But yeah, so again, go find casual. The season 6 YouTube account. Go watch the preview. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Also, Tony is absurd. And as long as he lasts in the season, the better.
Tony is absurd. And also, shout out, we're here. I'm seeing some of the chat, but a solid 45 to 50 people in here so far, which is not bad. Not where we were in the finale reunion of like 300 people, but we can't expect that. The people who are loyal are here.
Yeah. One more thing about the first 8 minutes that I really want to point out that I really liked was the metaphor of passing the torch and how Anders is just going to destroy Survivor Maryland.
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding. Anders is great and his content is great, and the seasons that I've been a part of, like for an episode at a time, have all been awesome. So it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, and also
you
don't
like seem convinced.
No, I am convinced. I was just going to say I was just reading something that was chatted right now. Well, like, give people have been saying like, oh my God, I really hope that season 6 lives up to All Stars and whatever. And season 6 can be great on a lot of its own merits. I just want people to realize and remember that this is an entirely new process for Anders. He came in. It's really hard to host a fan-made game for the first time. My first season, spoiler, is not even completed on YouTube and was like in a lot of ways a joke. So he is way ahead.
It's on YouTube. It's live. Everyone go watch.
Well, I'll get to that. He is way ahead of where I ever was, and there should be a lot of really fun stuff. And he's going to pick the ball up and keep it rolling, I guess is the phrase there. But let him build up and take time and like be patient with it. And I think you guys will enjoy it right away. But there is some great, like legitimately great stuff to come for Survivor Maryland. So be excited for that, but also realize that it took me 5 seasons of editing to really feel like I got good at what I did. And so that growth will definitely happen for Anders and everybody else too. And I know that's happening. I wanted to give a shout out to right up the top to, there's a bunch of different college survivors coming out in the near future. I know Survivor Boston's releasing its 3rd season very soon. Survivor Michigan is releasing its 1st season in like 4 days after. Anders' stuff, and I know Survivor Time and Change of Ohio State is also going to be releasing a new season soon. So plenty of great Survivor to check out. I'm really excited for all of those and to see, the generations of college Survivor continue, especially now that I'm done and don't even have to work on it. So great. So check those out if you have not already. Okay, Danny. So I got a bunch of questions about you and specifically like who you are. So tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a human first and foremost.
Yes.
Which is a surprise to most, I know. Let me see. Do I have anything going other than just being a Survivor Maryland superfan?
A few things.
Yeah. Born and raised in Pittsburgh, moved to Baltimore to be closer to Austin.
And because you got a great job.
Yeah, I mean, chicken and egg. I don't really know which came first. But I'm here with a good job and with Austin, which is all great. We are moving in a couple of weeks. That's exciting.
That's true. We are. Do you want to give out our address?
Yeah. Again, highest bidder. So any information that you want, come to me. I've got it. We take fan mail and gifts.
Do we?
Any gifts?
We would like some gifts. Yeah, if you have gifts or gifts, both are acceptable.
Do you mean gifs?
No. Yeah. Sure. GIFs.
Fight about it in the comment section.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was it like? Because I mean, just going into the Survivor thing, you said you're a Survivor Maryland super fan. You had watched no Survivor before we met.
My very first Survivor, my very first reality TV other than Jersey Shore was The Bachelor when you and I watched. So shouts to The Bachelor
up against tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, we're competing. So thank you all for being here while you also watch The Bachelor. Yeah, so we watched The Bachelor for 2 seasons, or a season and a half before that. Was great. And then I watched Guts and Glory, and that was the beginning.
So do you like Survivor at this point, or am I just forcing you to be a Survivor fan because you know that there'd be no chance this works out otherwise?
Just kidding. I actually really do like Survivor. I think it's really awesome, and I've started thinking about my life in terms of Survivor.
It's very true.
We'll hang out with somebody.
Danny will come home from work and be like, "Oh man, worked my social game so hard today. I think I have an alliance with this person, and we're building a kind of a 3-person alliance with these people, and I really feel like it's going well." And I'm like, dude, there's no vote.
Oh, I imagine my office as a place where potentially, if hypothetically we were to play a game of Survivor and we were split, who could I get on my side? Who would be the biggest threat? Who would I have to vote out first? I'm for the CEO.
That's bold. I hope he doesn't see this.
No, I mean we're all gonna make it to the merge first, and then I'm cutting throats.
Got it. Someone asked Danny, how was it getting to know and beginning a relationship with someone who had such a unique and time-consuming project from the start? Because we met right.
That's actually a really good question.
Right in the summer. I did not. Right in the summer before All Stars is when we met. So you were kept hearing about this Survivor thing, but really didn't know what it was. And you, even when you'd visit Maryland that All Star semester, you actually never were at a Survivor Maryland event. So,
yeah, my intro to Survivor Maryland was the first time we actually ever met up. You had been like, you came over to my dorm room to hang out and watch Game of Thrones, but you had been like sitting in your car waiting for me to come home, and you were like editing something, and it was a total mystery to me. And when you said you were editing, it was just completely up in the air what that possibly could have been. I had no understanding of what that was. And yeah, it was definitely, I'm not going to say trying, but like it was a lot of effort on Austin's part. The product that you guys see that is All Stars has been an unbelievable amount of like time committed from him. So yeah, it was different. It was definitely interesting. We had to schedule it into a lot.
You can't lie that it definitely was frustrating when I would not be able to do anything during some of those weeks especially when All Stars was releasing. It was kind of crazy.
Yes, 100%. And then also before that too. Well, the thing is that Austin has this thing where he puts himself up against like ridiculous self-constructed time limits where he's like, oh, I've got to get this episode out by next Tuesday for whatever reason, because he promised all of you. And then he kills himself to do it. So be thankful for what you've got.
Yeah, you're also talking to the people who routinely talk about how long it took me to get between Guts and Glory and All Stars. So I don't know if you're dealing with the most sympathetic crowd.
I'm going to actually take most of the blame for that. I think you probably would have had it out in much less time than you did.
You didn't know about Survivor Maryland while you were in college, right?
No.
Would you have played?
No.
Why not?
I don't know. I probably would have been intimidated by it. Now that I know what it is, I definitely would play. But at the time, probably not.
So I'm going to ask a very sort of unrelated question, but someone from Generation 3, who I think may be the host, asked this question. Danny is, along with being a smart businessman and a Survivor Maryland superfan, also is a noted basketball player. Yeah, there's some jerseys they play for Maccabi Team USA, and then I guess you were Ray Allen by that.
No, that's a different story. That I wanted a silent auction for $20.
Oh, he wanted a silent
which is a great story in which I stole all the pens off the table at a silent auction in order to win that for a low amount of money. Not proud of it. Very proud of it.
Well, so as a noted basketball player, super fan, whatever, I know you've gotten to watch some of Maryland's team this year. So the question was, why do our boys look lost against zone defense? Also, do you have predictions for big play and postseason chances?
Oh my God!
I know hard-hitting questions early that all the fans are dying to know.
I think actually Maryland looks great, and the reason why is because anytime a team breaks down in college basketball, I know this is what everyone came to listen to. If you have a strong inside presence and you can dump it into a big, that's like a really great way to bail your team out and then also play 4-on-1.
Right.
And Bruno Fernando is the GOAT, and he's the truth. And we saw him in person, and he's massive and super athletic and going to the NBA. So.
Well, you should help them go do better against the zone.
Yeah. I mean, it's really all going to be sticks floaters. I think that's the answer. There's your answer, Drew. Sticks floaters and Bruno inside.
Yes. And to those people in the chat, yes, there is Generation 3. You have to remember that this exists both as a college experience and a TV show. And while sometimes the TV show doesn't catch up with the real-life product, it still matters. Also, screw you, Greg, about Dwayne Haskins. And he is a crappy human being. But also, now we have Loxley, so we're going to get all those people back. So be worried. All right, so now we can get into – I have a gazillion questions to get into. I mean, there were like 70 responses, and some of those had like 5 questions within them. So I'm going to try to get to as much stuff as possible. You guys in the chat, definitely the live feedback helps. And if we're talking too much about something you don't care about, then let us know. If you have follow-up questions or whatever, let us know. And also people like oh, hi, Katie. Katie and Gabby? Are Katie and Gabby together?
What? I love it.
Is that actually a thing? Please confirm if that's a thing. I need to know because I stand that if it's happening.
That could be our guess.
Oh my God, sup? Katie and Gabby, if this is a real thing, then we would love to have you on the live stream later. 2 of my dear friends. Oh, okay.
That's unfortunate.
Katie, hi to you as well. Also, we need to hang out. Okay.
How did Katie second?
Great.
How did Gabby first?
I'm so confused. Anyway, so we have a ton of questions, so feel free to give us back, feedback. And if there's stuff you want to follow up on in the chat or whatever, we'll be reading as much as we can. So it's not limited to questions that were submitted before. But that's the best way I had to organize it. And I'm just going to kind of bounce around to various things. I try to sort them in categories, but there's a lot of stuff. And hopefully you guys find this insightful and interesting. If you are here, I hope so. Cool. So the first set of questions I had was kind of talking about Survivor Maryland's creation in general. And I think that's interesting I get questions a lot of the time about, hey, I'm trying to start a fan-made game or I'm trying to start a college game. Oh my God, Holly. Good question. We'll get to that later. So I get questions all the time about creating Survivor Maryland. Yeah, the live chat is like very distracting.
I'll just be over there.
You monitor that. So how did you sell this idea since the beginning to your friends and to fans of Survivor in the school so they will come to participate in Survivor Maryland? And I got questions about how Survivor Maryland started, so I'll just go into that. Basically, in my freshman year, I would joke with all my friends about, wouldn't it be so funny if we played Survivor? Kind of like Danny was talking about with like picturing his work, his office as Survivor. Like that was me picturing all my friends in my dorm that I met. And so I would talk to them and I would joke about it and be like, oh man, who would you align with? Oh, you would backstab who? Oh man, you would be such an aggressive player, whatever. And people started to like joke about it and understand it a little bit. And then over time, it like became a little bit more of a real thing. And I kind of just thought like, wouldn't this be really fun to actually do? And why can't we do it? We have a ton of time. We're freshmen in college. We're all living in the same dorm at that time. I had a big group of friends in the same dorm. So why don't we make this happen? And I started to really pitch it to people as a real thing. And at first they were like laughing at me. This is ridiculous. How can you actually play Survivor? And then as time went on, I just kind of kept forcing the issue. It kept becoming more of a big possibility in my mind. And I just started to individually convince people. And I remember we were at a sushi buffet at Sakura. And I finally was like, I would host this for you guys. Like, I will make this happen. Do you guys want to do it? And people were like, I actually would be interested in this. And we can make this happen. So then I started to convince individual people and just told them to have blind faith in me that this would be really fun and it would be a really cool competition. And at the time, I mean, there was no concept of doing Survivor not in the woods or on an island somewhere. Now it doesn't really seem like an innovation at all, but back then it just didn't really exist. And I had watched some of those like day-long shows, and I don't know, I just thought it would be a really cool setting to do a long-form version of the game as kind of like a club. And I just started to convince people, and people got really excited about it. And I had a bunch of friends who binged seasons of Survivor right away. There weren't that many people who were really super fans, but I had a couple friends who were that were easy to convince. And we just made it a reality. And I always give people the advice that if you're going to try to start something like this, you need to try to make it as good as possible right away. And people now, I think, have seen these on YouTube, and they try to focus on making it into a great show. But you need to really focus on making it into a great game and a great experience for the people and an atmosphere where they will really care and play hard. And if you make it feel not cheesy and not small time, then it'll become a big deal and people will really invest in it. That we can go into. Katie's asking in the chat. So what was it like when you got a chance to play? I think it's a good question because you created. So Danny was one of the masterminds behind this surprise game of Survivor that we played over the summer. So I'm talking about the beginning of Survivor Maryland, but jumping forward to the very end. Danny, Chris Thomas, and Anders planned a surprise game for me and for a bunch of people in the summer to celebrate the end of All Stars and the end of my journey with it. So what was it like to play that game, and how did you go about making it so it wasn't just kind of a joke? Because I think you knew that I'd probably want it to be like a real game.
Yeah, that was something that initially I posed a question to Chris, LeCompte, and Thomas, and Schubel, and Anders, and asked them, like, collectively as a 5 of us, can we put our heads together and get Austin something to culminate basically 6.5, almost 7 years of killing himself on behalf of Survivor Maryland. And this is something you like dedicated a large portion of your adult life to.
Yeah.
So we wanted to do something nice, and we were talking about signed memorabilia or something. Austin has access to literally everything you could possibly want, more than we could get him. So that's ridiculous. And
you just made me sound very rich, which I am not.
Oh, so, no, I mean rich in terms of Survivor friends.
Yeah.
So I think it was Chris Thomas who had the idea to just like throw you a surprise game. And initially I was thinking like, oh, that's great, but there's no way. And then we realized we could actually pull this off. So we kicked Schubel and LeCompte out of the group chat because they wanted to play, and they couldn't be on the planning committee because that's collusion. Even though LeCompte really wanted to and definitely knew more information going in than he was supposed to. But Chris Thomas, Anders, and I met in secret over the course of like 3 or 4 months and planned a surprise game of Survivor for Austin. And our goal was to have an even mix of guys and girls. So originally it was going to be 20 total people, 10 guys, 10 girls, and also 10 Survivor Maryland All-Stars and 10 others, including some people that had played on the CBS show, Greg from Survivor Ohio State, some people Austin had played in a short game in like the Durham Survival Challenge in Maine. So just a bunch of people from across the Survivor community to all come in to Maryland and surprise Austin. And we pulled it off. Funny backstory there is that Austin was planning a surprise for my birthday the month before that, and half the people that were in on the surprise for my birthday that never told me were also in on the surprise for Austin that never told him. So moral of the story is that all of our friends are liars, but very good liars because they're Survivor players.
That's right. That's right.
But it ended up being amazing. We met in Survivor Gen 3 host Drew Lerner's backyard. I got Austin there and somehow convinced him. I think you were suspicious. But
I was suspicious, but I really didn't know what it was.
But somehow convinced him to come to this backyard at like University of Maryland, and we were gonna like hang out with Drew and pick Chris Thomas up, and we were gonna like the 3 of us were gonna go to the woods somewhere and go camping which was already suspicious because I don't like camping. And we got to the backyard and everyone was already waiting there and surprised Austin. And he was like, "Oh my God, I'm so surprised, but what is this?" And we broke them into tribes. We had a little cookout in the backyard. And then the next day we woke them up at 8 a.m. and started playing Survivor.
Don't leave out my big speech. Very, very great metagame from the start.
I honestly forgot it.
When I got everyone together and I said, "Everyone play hard. I don't, don't let me get to the end. I want everyone to play." And I really just established a great metagame for myself that carried me through to the end.
Well, the amazing part about Survivor Maryland and the cast and the amount of the people that you've had is that you really don't have to tell them twice to be competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, the only rule that we had going in between me, Chris, and Anders was you can't vote Austin out first, and then after that, he's fair game. So, look, it was incredible. And it lasted from 8 a.m. until midnight the next day, which was absurd. And the amount of commitment to playing hard for that long was amazing. Everyone was tired and hungry. Holly tore her ACL.
That's a true story. During Balloon Stomp. Balloon Stomp is a dangerous game.
Yeah. I mean, like, feelings were hurt, but also not. It was great. And then the final tribal was when Greg from Survivor Ohio State
was asking about it.
Who's forcing me to tell the story, but I was going to tell it anyway. He asked the most amazing question. The final three, spoilers for anyone who's going to watch the season when it comes out.
It's not coming out.
I mean, I have pictures if anyone wants, but really nothing. Was Holly, Austin, and Sunday Burquest. And Greg had the first question because he was the first post-merge player voted out. And he asked, "What does Survivor mean to you?" Which was just like the lowest of hanging fruits in order to get everyone in the room to be bawling their eyes out. And it worked. Sunday cried, Holly cried, Austin cried, we all cried. I forgot to film it, so I'm so sorry to everyone because I was crying.
It was a moment.
But it was really amazing. It was really touching what Survivor means to people that are willing to dedicate not only a full semester to it, but for Sunday, she left her family and like went on an island for 40 days. For Adam Klein, who was there, he left his mom and went on an island for 40 days. Like for Austin, he dedicated so many hours and so much energy to not only running this thing, but filming it and editing it and putting it out and doing these live streams. So yeah, it was a nice give back. I think that you probably got everything we wanted you to get out of it. And we also got a lot out of it too.
Oh, 100%. It was a really amazing thing. It's hard to even sum up. It sounds silly from an outside perspective, but so did a college Survivor thing in the first place. I think that's the beauty of it. And there were a lot of really great highlights. Holly and Siona feuding from the start. Some things never change. LeCompte and Schubel feuding pretty early. We had Siona shit-talking me and getting me out of a challenge by distracting me after she was out of the game. So I got played by the Siona shit-talk. Micah trying to blindside me and then me getting him out in the process. Sorry, Micah. Yeah.
We actually did have some successful blindsides too. Adam Klein was blindsided.
Yeah. Adam Klein blindsided 5-4 with an idol in it, or a vote steal in his pocket. I beat King Scally in the chat at a Final Four duel.
And for those Survivor Maryland fans, by the way, we did do a memory challenge. And
it was the Chris LeCompte Final Four challenge. Oh, that's true. Yeah, redemption.
Big redemption for Chris LeCompte. He got everything and more. Also, Sunday got a big redemption too because she ended up winning. So go Sunday Burquest. She's our fave.
Yeah. So it was really a blast, and they did a great job. And I don't know, we can answer more questions about that later, but we've talked in detail about that. So I will move on to more questions. Speaking of seasons that were not really aired, a question came in. Since you had 4 full seasons and one not so full one, for the diehard fans, can you give us a rundown of how season 1 played out? All I know is that Schubel won immunities and got screwed in the end, and since we are finishing this generation, I feel it is needed for a season recap review.
Can I start this one?
Sure.
I mean, all I know, I don't know much about the season, but I do know that Alex Pascal's brother, Nick, and Danny Pacious, did Clark play?
Yeah.
It was the group of Austin's friends that, to this day, they still all hang out, and they call themselves the Smack Bros. So it was...
It's really airing it. Hey, it's a joke. It's like to smash... Okay.
Right.
Anyway.
No, this is
that makes it sound a lot more bad than it is.
I mean, if you run for any high judiciary position, this
it really is very Kavanaugh. But wow. Okay, this is why I don't allow Danny on live streams.
But Danny Pacious is my favorite Survivor Maryland player of all time.
Yeah. basically, so real quick, I will say, because people have said this, that season one's not on YouTube. It was on YouTube, and I maybe made it unlisted because I wanted people to find Survivor Maryland. I didn't want them to start there because it clearly, I mean, even from season 2 to 5, the quality changes a lot. But season 1 is it's really its own animal. So I think I just opened that back up to public instead of unlisted. So you can go check out the 9 episodes of season 1. They're really terrible, but if you are a big super fan and diehard and you want to watch those, I know some people in the chat have watched those, but if you haven't and would like to, feel free to go do that. In terms of things that happened, it was a very interesting season. It was a fun season. It had a lot of different levels of people caring and not. Not everybody was as invested as I think they were in later seasons. So had a couple of people kind of quit. One person quit at the final 5, and that's actually part of what screwed over Schubel. It was kind of crazy. But basically the game was controlled by a couple of people. Really, Danny Pacious, who's like the Boston Rob of Survivor Maryland, who I really wanted to have back from for Guts and Glory, but it didn't work out. And then Alex Elkin, they were roommates. They were really tight. Alex is like this really nice guy, but definitely played some people really hard, especially Schubel. And the ending vote, the final vote was 3-3-2. There was a pretty bitter jury, so Danny only got 2 votes, even though I think he probably played the best game. But Alex played a really good game too. 3-3-2. The 2 people re-voted, and Alex won 5-3. So pretty epic. The tie vote happened really early on. We had some amazing double vote, almost rock draws a couple times. Schubel had planted a fake idol that Nick, who's Alex Pascal's brother, found and then played and got out on a 5-4 vote, thinking that he had saved himself when he had it. There was a great time when the Danny and Alex group really trolled Schubel and freaked him out by playing these fake advantages. A lot of really fun stuff, but basically it was Danny and Alex controlling things really from the post-merge on, and then Schubel had a lot of control in the pre-merge, but kind of exposed himself a little bit, and it was him on the outs for a lot of the post-merge. He won 5 straight immunities and had 2 idols, and so he was able to survive for a long time. So Schubel was definitely, he got out at Final 4. It was the Final 3 that season. Schubel, if he had gotten to the end, definitely could have won. It would have been a pretty interesting final tribal, but they had made so the third or the second place guy, Tyreek, did not show up to the Final 4 challenge. He had a commitment. This was season 1. It was the pole challenge, the first ever pole challenge, and he didn't show up. So the other 3 made a deal that they would take each other to the Final 3. And Danny and Schubel dropped from the polls at the exact same time, agreed to do a bocce ball tiebreaker, which Danny won, and they ended up turning on Schubel at Tribal Council and definitely backstepping him. And Schubel had a 4-page, it was a 10-page speech he had written out for Final Tribal that was really terrible, but he got better at his speeches after that. So that was season 1. So really fun season. Definitely check it out on YouTube if you want to, but I don't know. I can go into more detail in person on that, but if you chat me on it, I don't need to bore everyone too much. Did you become friends with some of the Survivor Maryland contestants after the show, or were you previously friends with some of the contestants? Those are both true. I had a lot of friends going into Survivor that I convinced to play Survivor, but I also became friends with a lot of the people after that. I see Holly in the chat. That was someone who I did not know at all until she played Survivor, and now I consider her a good friend. That's true for a lot of people in the cast, and that was a really great thing for me. Sometimes being a host can be really isolating, but I also got to go through and see people go through this incredible journey and talk to them individually all the time. So it's hard. People like Charlie, who got out really early, maybe didn't bond with them so much or become friends with them, but people who made it pretty far in the season, I feel like I really got to know them really well. How truly terrifying was it? And you've gotten to be friends with people too.
Yes, yeah. Such good friends, in fact, that Chris Thomas spoiled Survivor Maryland All-Stars to me 3 years ago.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's why you couldn't be on the live streams.
Uh-huh. CT every time.
Yeah, just couldn't keep the mouth shut. All right. How truly terrifying was it to begin a massive project like Survivor Maryland? It wasn't really terrifying because I wasn't making it for anyone else. Maybe the other fan-made hosts in the chat can talk about that, and they felt like there were expectations. But I had no pressure going in, besides that I wanted to make it good. I was a little worried people would start it and then hate me or hate it going in, but everybody seemed to be having a blast from the start. And I don't know. I mean, we had a Secret Redemption Island twist in season 1 that I I had going throughout the pre-merge. Hi, Anders. We had going throughout the pre-merge, and then that kind of shocked everyone at the merge. So people were really excited about it, and I certainly didn't anticipate putting it into a YouTube series. So I didn't have any pressure from that sense. How does it feel to have made the best Survivor content that I've personally ever seen? Well, that feels great. It's very nice of you to say.
That was my question. Just kidding.
I mean, talking in general about the whole journey that Survivor Maryland went on in terms of kind of becoming viewed by a lot of people, especially for just content created by one person. It was truly stunning and truly incredible. And I remember, I talked about this on the Dom Con podcast a little bit, but it was just really incredible the first time I saw some online communities pick it up and really invest their time and their words and their energy into it. And it just really triggered me into not just thinking about this as an experience for the players, even though that's what it was first and foremost, but that's when I started to think like, okay, I guess this has some merit as a show as well. So that was a really fun experience. And to get all the appreciation and support, I mean, given how much time went into it, it matters so much. So the fact that anyone's even here still listening to us means a lot. I feel like there's definitely been a community that's formed because of it, and people that I love talking to on Twitter and in person now that I would have never known otherwise. So, yeah, it's really been a blast for the whole thing. Also, please give any unfiltered thoughts on the Soka trio. Oh, fuck them all. I hate them. What?
Wait, sorry.
Oh, wait. Danny is really interested in a question. What are you doing?
That one.
Which one? This one?
Yeah.
Who would place better in the next Blood versus Water season, Danny or Austin? That's a good question. I feel like that isn't for us to decide. You've always said you would quit if you had to help me, but
yeah, but I honestly think that I'd probably win, because when you get really competitive or you get caught up in a lie, your tell is pretty obvious.
Remember the time when I had the biggest target on my back going into the reunion show, and yet I came one vote away from winning?
When Austin gets really defensive, it's immediate.
No, but I know how to handle myself in a game of Survivor. You would fall apart. You would crack.
Probably, but I'd make great TV.
Danny also gets very hangry when he's either hungry, tired, or hasn't exercised. So he's going to be at least 2 of the 3 on Survivor at all times. So I think he would fall apart.
Probably, but in a good way. I would just follow you around until you got voted out.
Well, you might not be on my tribe. What would you do?
Pretend to be straight.
Fair. Who's your loved one? Oh, my brother over there. Great. Okay. Okay. Well, they asked for unfiltered thoughts on the Soka trio. So, and this was a sub question that I got. Do you prefer Evan and Shannon or Micah and Shannon as a duo? Obviously, Evan and Micah are a thing and whatever, but
yeah, this is difficult because we did just hang out with Evan. It's 2 nights ago.
We did, but we've recently hung out with Micah and Shannon.
I know.
I have an answer.
Do you?
Yeah, I think Evan and Shannon are a more fun duo than Micah and Shannon, although I do really like both. But I think Evan and Shannon have a little bit of clash because they're both a little more type A, and but also get along really well. And I liked all their scenes together in Guts and Glory. We can also get to
not answer that question.
No, I chose Evan and Shannon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I think I'll choose Micah and Shannon.
Okay,
to be contrarian, but also because I think that Micah definitely needs one of the Soka trio to be in front of him so that he has the opportunity later to go home with an idol in his pocket.
Wow,
and not be a target up front.
Shade.
But also, of the 3, I love all 3, but Micah's my favorite.
Wow. Hot
takes.
Just said that. Just put it out there. I hope Shannon's not listening.
It's all right.
Be so mad.
Shannon's also my favorite. Shannon has dinner plans with us
next December.
In December 2019. So
yeah, if Shannon would move back to DC, she could rise back to the fame. But we don't get to see her enough, and it just makes me sad. So
also,
right.
Of the 3, Evan's my favorite to play basketball with.
That's
so that everyone has their thing.
Baseball, yeah. All right. Got some questions about casting, both in terms of Survivor Maryland and CBS casting. And so this might be interesting to a lot of you guys on 2 levels. How does the casting process work? This was a Survivor Maryland question. So back in seasons 1 through 3, I was pretty much just hand selecting people, reaching out to them, having people who had played or friends of mine reach out to people and just kind of casting as wide of a net as I could, but really on a personal level. I didn't do formal interviews. I would try to message the people or talk to them. And I don't even remember. It was like very ad hoc and just all over the place. But it clearly worked out because, like, you know, Outback and Terrapin Trials definitely had a lot of great casting people or cast members, I think everyone would say. And that was, you know, I managed to find a lot of fun people just based on people that are on my floor or that I happen to know. So, you know, I would say to people, especially if you're planning a fan-made game or a college game, like, use the connections that you have and know, especially people that you don't know that well. Like, I would meet people in class. I know for Renee, I literally met in class, and we like had good chemistry and clicked. And I was like, this is a really interesting guy who I would love to see play Survivor. And so I was just like, Renee, you should play in the Survivor thing. I just met him. Oh, bye, Greg. Bye, Greg.
This is how Austin was hitting on guys in college.
That is not at all true.
Hey, Renee, you want to play Survivor?
That's just literally not true. But I thought he was a really good. I would start to think of people, like, you know, you think of the game of Survivor. I would think about who I wanted in my cast, and I would.
Bye, Greg. Sorry. I
would meet. So I was like on the student judiciary, and I would meet people, literally, or like people would be in a case and they'd be like lying their ass off, and I'd be like, man, I really should reach out to this guy and get him to apply for Survivor.
Except for the fact that they've been suspended from the university.
Well, I did not do that. I think that would have been a little unethical, but I thought about it, and I just kind of kept compiling people that I wanted to have in my cast and talking to them. And I encourage everyone to do that if you are looking to find a cast. But anyway, starting Guts and Glory and through season 12 now, we have formal interviews. People submit applications, and we reach out to them and do an in-person interview. I remember doing the Guts and Glory interviews with Victoria, Chris, and Steve in the La Plata basement. It was a lot of fun, and I think that you can find someone and figure out if they're definitely castable in the first like minute of hearing them.
Did you ever film those?
We didn't film the season 4 ones, which was really upsetting. I really wish we'd had those. I couldn't even find my notes.
Future seasons you have filmed.
We have film of interviews from season 6 on.
Will you ever release them?
That's really up to Anders, but I would say I think we probably would at some point, or maybe pieces of it that are pretty interesting. Also, I really have to pee, so I'm gonna throw a question to you, and I think this is a good one for you. So,
great.
What 5 Survivor Maryland contestants would you like to see on CBS Survivor?
Okay, bye. All right, now that we're alone. No, I'm just kidding. 5 contestants that I'd like to see on CBS Survivor. I think Feluke and Chris LeCompte are the obvious 2, just because, I mean, they're both incredible personalities and just absolutely cunning and crazy. I think Shubal in the same way, partially because we know Shubal, and outside of Survivor and off camera, Shubal is a major neat freak and a total germaphobe. So I think it'd be really fun to see him on CBS losing his mind, being out in the wilderness. Let me see. Who else would I really like? I mean, I keep going back to Danny Pacious, and no one here knows who that is, but he's just like, he's an awesome guy, and he's sporty and like really easy to make friends with. And I think he'd be a really good Survivor player without being really good TV. Because I know there's kind of the 2 conflating things. And then I need a last one. I don't know. And then what do you guys think? I'll leave the last one for you guys. Although I feel like Holly would probably be awesome. Actually, never mind. I'm pulling it back. Holly's my 5th. There it is. So I just submitted my 5. We'll see what Austin thinks when he's done with the bathroom. What other questions should we answer while Austin's gone? What else do you have, Austin? Yeah, I'll wait for that one. Yeah, so I think probably, so I made my 5.
Okay, what were your 5?
So my 5 were LeCompte and Feluke.
Okay.
That was easy. And then I threw Danny Pacious in there.
Wow.
I've been very high on Danny Pacious.
You love Danny Pacious.
Pot. Okay. And then I threw Shubal in there because I think watching Shubal squirm in the wilderness for 40 days would be really funny. And then Holly was my 5th.
Those are 5 good ones. I would say Carla, Alex Gennaro, Zandria, Matt Rosas, and Elise would be my 5. No, I think Feluke and Chris LeCompte are the people that come to mind first and foremost. Like, to me, they scream reality TV casting, but also not just like casting for like big personalities, which they are, but also just like competitive people, driven, and just I mean, they just like they have a presence wherever they go, and that's really what you need on the show. I think Holly would be a great one for me, especially after watching her in All Stars. Like, she's gonna hate me for saying this, and I don't want her to take this the wrong way. So sorry, Holly. This is not meant to be taken how you are going to initially react. I think Holly is like Angelina in the not as a person, in the sense that you put someone like Holly in a game, especially Survivor, which she's so passionate about, and she will never let it be boring. I think that she's always going to look for an edge and an advantage, and she defined so much of the All-Star season because she was aggressive and proactive and pushing. I'm not saying that it would
but
be
she's
the same.
also so easy to get along with.
She is, and she's a different. That's not her best player comparison. I just think from a casting perspective, that's the reason you have her on there, and that's also the reason why I enjoyed Angelina this season, because she brings a lot. Holly, don't get mad. I'm not saying you are the same person and you bring the same
honestly,
thing.
Sherry's been brought up twice, and I'm changing all 5 of my answers.
Yeah.
Sherry 5 times. That's who's going on Survivor. The new Sherry.
We do love Sherry, but I don't think that Real Survivor is the place for her. I think Maryland was almost a better thing for her.
Wow.
Someone said, why do you think Survivor does not want to cast you or other Marylanders who have applied? Do you think mentioning that you hosted or have competed on a YouTube Survivor is a turn off the casting? I used to think yes, and I sometimes have heard that is the case, that they would not like that. But I think that they shouldn't have an issue with it based on how they cast now. I mean, Survivor is doing a really good job of actually casting genuine superfans. Big Brother always says they cast superfan type, but they don't really. But Survivor actually is, and I think they think it does a lot for their game. They don't want the story to be that, yeah, I played in this fan-made Survivor. They want it to be self-contained, but I don't think it would harm anything, and I think if they like the person enough, they would cast them. I have not been cast on the show. I don't know, and so I could be totally wrong with the casting process, but I think that, like, people always say to me, oh, they have to cast you because you were the Survivor Maryland guy, and they totally, like, how could they not cast you? And that's just not what it's about. It's about you as a person, and that story is not enough to get you on. But I do think it would be an interesting story to have that level of super fandom. And I also think that people have played, it just says that they love Survivor and are competitive, and we have footage to show that they are interesting in that format. So it's not a pro that you played a fan-made game or a game of Survivor. Plenty of people have. But if you have shown through that your personality is engaging and interesting and competitive, I think that that there's no reason that would be a downside. And I think their casting team is open-minded enough to see that. So, yeah. Someone mentioned Ashley on the CBS show. That's actually a good one, too. Ashley would be fun out there. It'd be exciting. You don't agree?
No, I like Ashley, but I mean, I like her as a person. I just have never really been like totally in love with her Survivor game.
That's fair. Fair. Someone said, how would you suggest making it onto the Real Survivor if you were to give someone advice? Well, like I said, I've not been cast, so I may not be the best person, but I have talked to people who have been cast, and I feel like I do feel like I understand what the casting process is like on a very small level. At least what, like, I think that I do think I have a skill in casting people and recognizing people being good cast. I think that you really need to pop within the first minute, or you're fighting for barely any spots. I would say that probably 75% of the people on Survivor are someone that stands out right away, jumps out in their personality, and like the part of the reason I think I'm not cast is because I don't jump out like that, like some people do. Like when Fluke comes on the screen and has one confessional, you're like, oh wow, I'm gripped. Not everybody can have that, and not everybody on the CBS show has that. But you need to be yourself, but you need to be the most engaging version of yourself, or the most interesting version of yourself. That's how I would describe it in terms of getting cast. And you need to be yourself, but you also need to focus on the aspects of yourself that are the most standout and the most important, and figure out at least a little bit of a sense of what your type is and how you're better than other people in that.
Right. I mean, we've gone back and forth on this because I helped Austin film his application video last year and this year. And I mean, I feel like there were points where we had to rein you back in, and you and I kind of, like, it wasn't a full-on disagreement, but we had differences of opinion on what kind of presentation you should make of yourself. And everything I was reading was that they really are looking for you to be the most authentic version of yourself, and like it can be slightly over the top, but you don't want to be a caricature. You still
Yeah.
are human, and you're still on. At some point, if you ever make it to the show, you're going to have to be that person.
Well, you can't lie. You can't make stuff up, and you have to be yourself because they will break you down in casting over a long period of time. But I think I do disagree with you in that, like, you can't just talk in monotone and think that you're going to get on.
Well, that's not what I'm saying.
You have to be able to tell a story, to be an interesting talker, and they're looking for people who are going to be decent in confessional, or better than decent, who are good in confessional and can give interesting takes and react to situations and people, which is hard to establish in a video that's just about yourself. But that is the way it is. Yeah. So that's the best advice I have. Yeah, just go for it and do it. And like, I mean, even Christian's a great recent example. It's someone who you see Christian on the screen, you're like, oh my God, that guy would have to be cast. And yet he applied multiple times and didn't get a call for most of them. So it's just a great example of why you should keep trying, and you never know when it's going to work out.
You also have to fit with their existing cast and their existing season too.
Yeah.
So,
okay, let's move on to kind of Survivor Maryland twist. I don't know. Let me do a check-in with. Someone asked, would I play Sequester? Wait, that's a funny question. Is we're moving an excuse for playing Survivor? No, because we're moving in a couple weeks, and Survivor's not filming, and also we're still going to be online. But we would Blood versus Water would be fun. So reach out to us if you're casting. But would I play Sequester?
we'd also play Amazing Race too.
We would do Amazing Race.
We've done an Amazing Race.
About that. We have done an Amazing Race in Cozumel, Mexico, on a cruise. It was a lot of fun, and we did pretty well.
We came in second by 3 seconds.
3 seconds.
It was very sad.
Holly, should I play Sequester? You tell me. I don't really think too much about playing other fan-made games. I did play in the Durham Survival Challenge because they have really cool. By the way, that's if you want to apply for that. If you're a fan of Survivor, do it. It's really great. And I know Sequester has been really good this season. I'm not denying it's a good show. I don't know if it's exactly what I would want in a game or a cast or whatever. And I don't have that craving to play games all the time. But if I get that urge, then maybe I would go play Sequester for a weekend. And yeah, Holly, we can be winner twins. So maybe you're convincing me.
Spoilers.
Okay, so check in with people in the chat. I can either go into some questions about All Stars next, or about like twists and how about this? All Stars, or like general season questions about like, all the seasons overall. You guys vote on what you want me to go into next. I'll let the chat go. How are we doing so far? Check in with you.
I'm still here.
Yeah,
still awake.
Are you awake? It's getting late for you.
The ultimate hour is midnight. Then I'm just gonna absolutely fall apart.
All seasons. Okay. I think the tribe has spoken. Okay. Let's go to some general season questions. So, I got a question about how you manage the scheduling of all the participants. We did really flexible scheduling, accommodate them. That question is not that interesting. I think I've answered it before. Not an insult to that person, but I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritties of that. But it was tough, and we were very flexible, and we did a lot of things at night, as you have seen. Okay, here's a good one. What is the biggest what-if moment from your seasons? I have an answer off the top of my head for this one. For me, the one I always think about, because I don't think about too many different outcomes for any of my seasons. I think I was really lucky with how everything went. But for me, it's if Holly wins that tiebreaker at Final Four, what happens in that Final Three? Because I don't know when Chris Thomas and Holly ever get off that sundial. I think it would have been really interesting. And I would have loved to see it, definitely, because I think they both deserve to be there so much. And Chris
almost slipped off the sundial too, which you told Dominic Collins.
Chris almost did. That's a what if I don't want to think about. But that's a big one for me is that Final Three. Some other good ones. I'm seeing some good ones in the chat. What if Feluke used the idol on Marissa? I don't know. Maybe Marissa wins Survivor Maryland.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm interested in if Chris wins the tiebreaker in Outback. I know I'm just talking about tiebreakers, but I am interested in.
I'm laughing if Xandria showed its challenges on time.
That's a great question. Maybe she would have. Maybe showing up to challenges late is a great thing. Just ask Terry. But okay, what's your biggest what if that you can think of that you were like, oh man, what if that had happened?
Wow. Honestly, what if Feluke had been able to play from the beginning of All Stars?
For me, that's easy. I think that she dominates the discussion on the Girls Tribe. Another what if that I was thinking about is what if Fluke doesn't get voted out at that merge, and do her and Victoria ever form an alliance? Because it was close to happening. It was almost getting that way where it really made sense. And I wonder if we would have ever had that scene, which I know a lot of people wanted.
Did you ever, during All-Stars, since that was going to be your last semester of Survivor in college, did you ever consider playing and having someone else host?
I did. When I was initially planning All-Stars, it was definitely in the conversation. And maybe Steve was going to host for a bit because he didn't really feel like he was playing. Yeah, Steve was considering. But Steve got really busy with hosting Terpthon. Or not hosting. He was the executive, like the chair of Terpthon, which is a huge thing. And it just wasn't going to work out. But it was definitely considered for a time, and we were talking about whether that would work. So, yeah, that was a real thing. But
so what if?
Eventually.
What if you played?
People said, well, we had the reunion. People said that I would get voted out really early because I would be such a big threat and everything. I feel like I proved that, like, I had the connections, and I know how to leverage those when I know everybody. And, you know, it's certainly a different game when you don't know everybody, but I think that while people were certainly friendly to me because it was my reunion, I get that. I think I still am able to balance a lot of relationships really well. It's how I would play Survivor anyway, is creating all these different options and then figuring out a way to finagle all of them. And so having those options already presented to me was really great. So I think I would have at least survived to merge, and then we would have seen. But I don't know. The reunion, I feel like, was a good example of that. So I finally got to prove it a little bit.
Wow. Confident.
Let's see. Charlie, shout out to Charlie from Survivor Boston. He asked, any tribal councils that you as the host had no idea was about to happen going into it? I had a lot of those. I mean, the final 8 of Outback, which I always talk about being probably the greatest tribal in history, at least, I don't know, maybe something in All-Stars supplants that, the Rocks or the Micah tribal or something. But I would say that one, I really had no idea what was going to happen. That totally blindsided me. But I had a lot of them, especially in All-Stars, and that was a lot of times proof for a good season, is that I maybe knew a couple options, but I had no idea which way they were going to go. And most of All-Stars, they were so last second that I really genuinely did not know. But that Outback one and the final 6 of Terrapin Trials, all those really legendary tribals, a lot of those I really did not know what was happening, and that was really fun. If you could change any one vote outcome through all the seasons, which one and why? That's an easy one for me. I would have loved to seen the vote flip and save Queen Sherry in episode 3 of Guts and Glory. It would have been really fun to see her play for a while longer. I feel like it should have happened. It was definitely the right move for Mikey, certainly, and probably for Matt, although I definitely get why Matt didn't do it. I just think it was kind of indicative of him playing a more passive game, and I wish he had been a little bit more bold. But I really felt like he was flipping, and the scenario was there to blindside Brandon. I love Brandon, and I know love Brandon too.
I do love Brandon, but my probably what if is if Schubel doesn't get rocked out in All-Stars.
Yeah, if Schubel doesn't get rocked out is really an interesting one to consider as well. I think he would have gotten out at like 7th or something, but it's Schubel, so he always would have had the potential to make something happen.
Oh yeah, he's gonna mix it up even from the grave.
Right. Well, not from the grave.
Yeah, if he gets voted out, he's still gonna mix it up.
But yeah, the Sherry one for me is the one vote. Honestly, I never did anything.
Sherry.
Well, I do, but I never. It just felt right, and I could feel her story and like empathize with that. But
yeah, very very similar. You both being
students. Okay. I didn't say sympathize. I said empathize, and I was just invested in her early story. Okay, whatever. That is probably my second biggest what if. What Later Tagger 5 said is, what if Senti voted Compton All-Stars? So I said this on Damacalan. My picks, some of my top picks for the season of who I thought would do well were Holly, Sabrina, Senti were like my 3 big ones. And man, if Senti votes correctly, then I think her and Sabrina and Chris Thomas were in such an incredible position in the game after that. And I think Holly would have been able to recover from that also, because I think Chris being out freed her up in a lot of ways, and she would have been able to bounce back. I think Eric probably goes out next, but there's still a lot of room to play. Chris Thomas wouldn't have wanted Holly out, really. But, man, I feel like I would have been so dead on and set, and I really thought Senti was doing all the right things that season. Yeah, that's a big what if also. But, All-Stars was so good that I would not change anything about it, but I do sometimes think about the only things I would consider changing are that Final Four and that vote for LeCompte to see what happens, because it would have been a really epic blindside.
Yeah, I mean, knowing Senti, I'm not totally surprised. Senti was supposed to play in Survivor Maryland Reunion and bailed on us 3 days before.
It's true. Senti's wishy-washiness is trademark.
No, I love her to death.
Or flaky, yeah.
Oh, she's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I did love that Senti, did face the Reaper. It was like really the crux of her story over 2 seasons. I don't think you could write it any better. The question was always, did she do what she did intentionally? And she really had the chance to follow through and prove that. And she was so close to doing it, and she couldn't. And she paid the price immediately after. I mean, you can't write better stories than that. Are you able to share perhaps some of the more negative experiences you had while producing Survivor during your time at college? The toughest one for me was definitely the end of Terrapin Trials. I mean, it just was like very hard emotionally, certainly more for the 2 of them than for me, but to be part of that and feel like I made some of that happen was very tough. Zandria was a tough one. I think that was a chat for something different, but I did have some head-scratching moments when I would deal with her scheduling.
I mean, I do remember also that, I remember when you thought that LeCompte was going to go out.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think may have been at Senti travel.
It was, yeah.
And he had been drinking. This is back when Chris drank. And you had texted me, and I had negative context and understanding about what was happening or what was going on with Survivor Maryland. But you had texted me and you were like, I'm really, really worried about Chris. I don't know what's going to happen. I think he's going to get voted out tonight. I think he's going to be really, really upset. And I'm going to have to console him and spend all night.
Because it meant so much to him.
Well, yeah, totally. So
I did sleep over at Chris's place after he did get voted out. But that was almost a very negative experience, but it ended up being one of my favorite nights ever. So it was okay. Yeah, the Terrapin Trials ending was tough, and it's really why I took a semester off. I just needed a break from all of it. Every time a first boot got out, I really did feel really bad, and I every time questioned, was this the right thing for me to even start in the first place? My friend Katie Ta was the first boot of Survivor Maryland, or La Plata Island, and I just remember her crying, going off, and I felt so bad, and I was like, should I cancel the whole thing? So those first boots were always tough. I can't think of anything else that was too negative. It really was mostly positive, although there were some nights when I would clean up for a challenge and I would be totally alone, and I would feel like, man, it's really very isolating. And I'm sure other hosts have felt that a little bit at times, that all these players are talking and bonding or whatever, and you're a little bit removed from them. So that was tough. And also negative when Victoria wouldn't talk to me for a month after I brought Felipe back. So that was tough too. But we made it through.
Well deserved, honestly. Victoria, we stand.
Favorite Survivor Maryland quote of all time?
I want to go first.
Go.
Yeah, this is super easy.
What?
Shouts out to Kirsten.
Oh, well,
fuck your friends, literally.
Yeah, that whole scene was so incredible. Certainly, that's in terms of recent memory, that's the best quote I could think of. I'm trying to think of some previous quotes. I know some people didn't like this, but Micah's Hindenburg jury speech is just so creative and brutal that I really just liked that. If you take away some of the other
ant sweater speech, was he wearing a sweater during that?
I don't think he was wearing a sweater then, but maybe he was doing that when he took it off to reveal his forever or his buff. His buff.
Oh,
yeah, that's what it was.
Forever immune. Which one was it? So many reveals during Micah Travels.
Yeah, we had a lot of those. I really liked that speech. If you take away some of the other mean stuff to Molly, then maybe that by itself isn't that bad. And I know that was tough. Anyway, I just thought it was at least creative. I always think of Feluke's quote about Eric and Sierra and the leader switch in Terrapin Trials premiere, when she talks about that she needed Sierra to birth a boy. It just was so funny right away. And then I think CT's live long enough to become the hero quote is such a great one, especially with the context of what happened.
He made your life so easy from an editing perspective, because he just went from a hungover and awful and pretending the hero villain thing in the first episode, and then drinking through the first 4 or 5 episodes. I think there was someone who was keeping track online of the percentage chance that every individual player left in the game had to win in All-Stars, and he had 0 from week 4 on. until he won.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he made your life very easy.
He did.
In terms of all those quotes.
I also, before I forget this, because this is an easy one, Siona's "Phil still has a flip phone" quote is beyond hilarious and iconic, and that one is also that one still might be my favorite. Every time I see that, and also every time we show that to random, like when you show the first thing,
people laugh at that.
People always laugh at that comment.
Oh,
no matter
sidebar. We're hanging out with some friends at New Year's, and it like became that part of the night where we're just watching YouTube videos on their TV, and I requested Survivor Maryland the first 8 minutes, and they did it, and they sat and watched it.
They did. They didn't complain.
And Austin was sitting there with his head in his hands.
I don't like listening to myself, and especially people who are not like trying to get into it in the first place. It cringes me a little bit. But
again, I am like a walking
such
Survivor
a
Maryland Twitter account.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Would you ever have Adam from Millennials vs. Gen X on a Survivor Maryland live stream or after show? That has happened multiple times. So
Adam's dad.
We also had Adam's dad on the live stream. So, and I think he won best live stream guest. So, yeah, we would have Adam and Papa Klein. What is the most craziest idea you had for an advantage or twist that didn't make it onto Survivor Maryland Generation 1? You know, I've always talked about I really did not go too crazy with twists and try not to go too crazy. It wasn't really the focus of the game for me. But some things I thought about, I really thought about doing mutinies a lot of the time. I know that's happened on Survivor, so it's not that crazy, but I feel like it doesn't happen very often. I would say one of the big things I did think of a while ago was the idol nullifier. I was calling it an idol blocker, and it's because Danny Pacious trolled Schubel by pretending to play an idol blocker in the season 1, the final 5, and Schubel was like freaking out, and I thought it was really funny, and I almost included it in the season. So it was really funny when they ended up bringing it onto the real show. I was like, oh my god, the idol blocker happened. I think I even texted it to Danny Pacious. So yeah, I didn't have anything too crazy. I will say that I was the first person to do the idols at challenges because I did that in Guts and Glory, and that was before it happened in Second Chances. So yeah, booyah CBS. But the partner twist is certainly the most ambitious twist I did, but I think it worked pretty well. How did the situation affect school life, and did the politics of that play into the friendships formed in and out of the game? 100% yes. They definitely affected friendships. Usually it was a positive experience with new friendships forming or new experiences, but sometimes, we certainly saw in Terrapin Trials, and certainly at other times, it did test friendships. And somebody also asked, did Survivor players fail in class because they were more focused on winning? I don't think anybody failed. I actually know some people who did a lot better during Survivor semesters than not because they really focused on their time management. And I think you can probably speak to when you have too much free time, it's not always a good thing.
Oh, yeah. I love scheduling myself from the time that I wake up until the time that I go to sleep.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did do better during Survivor, although certainly sometimes they definitely had to sacrifice studying or whatever. And that was a difficult part of balancing. It's like, how do you value one person's exam over another? But some people take more time to study and less, and it just was always tough. But we made it work. Okay. I'm going to go into some All-Stars questions because I think there are a lot of good ones that I would love to touch on. Were there any Easter eggs in the edit that you included that you were especially proud of? One thing I haven't heard talked about a lot, but I included a line, and I was really worried about including it in the first place. But there's a line in like episode 7 or something or 8 where Eric, Shannon, and Chris LeCompte are talking, and Shannon's like, "Oh, Eric, I hope you don't vote me out." And Eric was like, "Oh yeah, who would do that? Like, what a stupid thing that would be." Or one of them says the other, and it like directly foreshadows him voting her out for the partner twist. I don't remember if I subtitled it or not, but I was very worried about that happening, or people realizing that, or at least a little bit worried. But that was a nugget that I liked having in there that I don't think people really picked up on. There are also a ton of them. Do you remember anything that was in there that like you were already spoiled and knew?
No. I'm trying to think back about specifics because really all my notes are about the first 8 minutes of season 6.
Maybe people in the chat picked up on some Easter eggs on a rewatch.
There were some stuff that you threw in there from an editing perspective that were really, really slight but really good. And I remember watching them at the time and watching them with you because you liked watching them with me so you could see my reaction.
Yeah.
and you were definitely very proud of it in the moment. And there were some that I was like, oh, that was really cool, but I don't remember anything specific right now. I just remember feeling that way.
There were a lot of great ones. Micah had some great lines about the idol throughout the season and what the idol means. I mean, episode 1, pretty much it's a long episode, but I think every quote in there has some degree of foreshadowing. Like even Ryan talking about season 2 versus season 4, and kind of a little bit of prophesizing that season 2 would end up being the final 2 or taking it in the end. All the Victoria Christamis stuff with how much she hated him. I mean, that's just like so fun to watch back. Whole episode of Phase 2, Swale says. I don't remember what nuggets I put in there, but there definitely was a lot of fun stuff.
The one thing I'll say is that it's not really like a full-on nugget, but B-roll for Survivor Maryland of squirrels and just general livestock around the University of Maryland. Every time that I'm anywhere with Austin and he sees a squirrel, immediately phone comes out, tries to get an angle, looks for like the best possible background, also just yells, "Squirrel!"
Look, you always need that B-roll, and you never know, and it could help out the later seasons. So.
You probably have more B-roll of squirrels on your phone than you do of the 300 hours of actual Survivor Maryland footage.
Probably true. Yeah, good points by Curtis and Steven. Those are always really funny. Past players showing up or future players showing up in past seasons is definitely a thing.
Well, I mean, you're in the first 8 minutes, even like after the.
That's a little different. That was intentional.
Well, no, but like after the torch passing, you're still standing in the background filming.
Yeah.
I'll be in some of the future seasons too.
That's true. Eventually.
Easter egg.
What? I have a question for the chat because I'm wondering. You know, we did the rankings of the top tribals in Survivor Maryland history. I think off the top of my head, the top 5 were like the Outback Final 8, the Terrapin Trials Final 6 with Cool Victoria, which is Cool Victoria has to be in the best quotes too. Why did I not say that one? That's at least in the top
because you don't actually know Survivor Maryland.
That's a good point. And then I don't know, a couple from Guts and Glory. The Rocks maybe was 3rd. The Shannon Double Idol was 4th or 5th. I don't remember. I have a question for the chat: is what tribals and all-stars, do you think that any of those reached number 1? I mean, I think some of the candidates are the Rocks, the Micah tribal, I think that the Shannon getting voted out tribal is really great. The LeCompte blindside, any of those, or the drunk tribal, either part 1 with the almost blindside or part 2 with the fake idol. Really interested to see if any of you guys think that is any of those are number 1 all time, or where they fit in. So feel free to chat on that in the chat. Okay. Oh, and which of the crazy theories and previews and hints in the edit amused you the most? I have to go back and read through the comments. There were some incredible takes where people were like convinced that I had foretold the whole season, and like people were so convinced that Shannon was winning for sure and thought that I had. Yes, she did. That's right. I don't know. People read into so much, but the most fun I can remember was the week leading into Fluke coming back. The theories were unreal, and I mean, people knew it could be Fluke, but didn't believe it, and whatever. And then there were theories about Alan, theories about Sherry. I don't know. There was really fun stuff that entire week, and initially I was going to actually show Fluke in the preview. That was my initial thought for a while, and then I think it actually was you who maybe said, "Why do you need to show her? Let people speculate." And I think the way it worked out was perfect because you knew it could be Fluke. It was heavily suggested with the cuts to Victoria, but you wouldn't be sure. And so I think that was really fun.
Yeah.
Cool. But also, like, it was so obvious it was Fluke. How did you guys not know?
It was so obvious. That was the answer.
That's true. If you were in this past season of All-Stars, who would you align with? We can throw that question to you first.
Man. It's really tough because I'm friends with all these people now. So I'm not really sure where I'd end up. I'd probably end up with Chris Thomas.
Oh, yeah?
I feel like that would happen. I mean, CT and I are close now. And he and Shubal kind of had a thing going on earlier. And that would probably, like, of the people that we hang out with, that would probably be my 3.
Okay.
So somehow, some way I would have ended up hanging with those 2. I'm trying to think. And, like, Victoria is one of my favorites also. So, like, as that partner twist would have happened with CT, I don't know who I would have landed with, but Victoria would have been, like, an easy one to add in. We would have been able, like, to get rid of Alex G really easily because he's just, like, sucks.
Jeez. That's a popular take. People will not hate you for that.
Yeah, no, we would have been able to get rid of him really easily. He wouldn't have been able to just like hang on for dear life, and we would have been a final three because she would have gotten rocked out. And yeah,
sure, the exact same thing would have happened.
Yeah, then Chris Thomas would have stabbed me in the back, and I would have been a bitter juror, and I would have voted for Ashley. And Ashley's your Survivor Maryland All-Stars winner.
There you go.
Yeah,
it happened. My top two would be Holly and Sabrina. Holly because I love Holly, and I know she wanted to play hard, and I know that I feel like we've just always had a really good relationship. We wanted to trust each other. Maybe that changed since I compared her to Angelina, even though, again, not like Angelina's personality.
Fuck your host.
Having a great role in the season and mixing stuff up. That's what I meant.
It's all right, Holly. You can still be friends with me.
But I've always really had a good relationship with Holly, and I feel like she would have trusted me, but she also would have carved a path, and I could have at times used her social skills to connect with people, but also helped her out too. I think it would have been a good mutual relationship, and she's someone who shares a lot, and I can get information and also give information and know that it should stay pretty contained. And we worked really well together in Survivor Maryland Reunion, so I feel like that was validated. And I knew I wanted to work with Holly the whole time going into that. Well, not going into that because I didn't know about it, but once it started. My other one would be, so I said Sabrina because I've just always been a huge Sabrina fan, and I don't know. We always just say the nicest things to each other, and I feel like we both just, I don't know. I just love Sabrina. She's so fun, and I was so invested in her second chance that I would have loved to work with her. So those would be my top two I can think of starting off.
I can understand Sabrina. She and I have been on a couple runs together, and we've gotten to know each other pretty well.
Runs?
Yeah. Like, exercise.
When did you go on? Oh, is it a joke about Sabrina running?
Yeah, it was a joke about Sabrina running. I know things, guys.
I'm a Survivor Maryland fan. Okay. Let's go to how different would Eric's edit have been if he made the final two or won? Like, was there anything that you held back given the outcome, or was that pretty much the it? Thanks, Glenn. Shout out to Glenn. I don't think Glenn's here right now. It's Australian time, but hopefully he'll watch us at some point, and he's my favorite. But so Eric's edit. Okay, I wanted to bring this up because I think that Eric got a raw deal from the fans. And I think that he was a lot better than people gave him credit for. I'm not sure who of you have rewatched already, but I would pay attention to Eric's story from a little bit different perspective. Because I think that what Eric did really well was he absolutely identified what he needed to do differently, and he actually made it happen. And so most of that, especially at the beginning, was intentional in terms of not being this big villain, not being the ultimate alpha male. Sometimes, especially later on in the game, I think that manifested in him kind of not playing as hard as he could. But I think a lot of what he did was intentional and helped him get a lot further. And like, as much as people watching the show may not have loved his personality, he was very well liked by the entire cast, and legitimately I said this on Don McCollin too, he had a very high chance of winning out of most of the final five. I think Holly was the number one in terms of jury favorite. Eric might have been number two in terms of just likability.
I think we were just talking about this with Chris Thomas recently.
We were.
He said if Eric went to the final, he actually wasn't sure if he was going to beat him.
Yeah, I think that Eric would have been the favorite going into it, but I think that maybe Chris Thomas's story ends up winning out. But like,
CT was also, he felt like you had missed some things in the edit that you pushed back on, like in terms of their early on relationship, where he said that essentially that CT and Eric were working together very closely.
I mean, I tried to hint on that,
but I mean, there were a lot of storylines to keep track of.
Well, there wasn't that much extra footage, but you do see scenes of CT trusting Eric and wanting to work with Eric more than Lacombe, and that's because he did trust Eric, and Eric is likable, and people did for the most part trust him. So I think Eric played a much better game than people have given him credit for. I remember even in the first episode, the thing about him being like lackadaisical when he finds the girl's idol, I personally think he played that perfectly. And people thought that I was editing him to look like an idiot, but I actually thought that he played that really well and downplayed himself as a threat in a major way there. So I'm not saying he played the best game of the season, but I think that he definitely was underrated. I find him really likable. And I think you just need to get to know him because he has this like very, very bro-y exterior.
Yeah, before you make any judgment about Eric King, go to his house and get to know him personally.
Yes, yeah, please go hunt him down. Great. Okay. So, in terms of whether the edit would have changed, I mean, if Eric wins, then I'd probably feature a little bit more of his story, more about how he was willing to turn on Chris Lecomte and whatever. But I feel like most of it I did get in there. There just is a little bit more of a focus. I also thought that him being understanding of his role in the game, making a final 2 with Ashley, even when they were fighting and pushing on that, was really smart stuff. And he was very self-aware, which is a big skill in Survivor. Great. Hey, Lita's here. Lita is here. Oh my gosh. Survivor Maryland intern Lita.
Speaking of other people that maybe hang out with Gabby tonight.
It could be anyone. Who knows?
Honestly, it's us. And welcome, Gabby.
Yeah, Gabby just shows up in Baltimore.
She's sitting quietly in the corner for an hour.
Okay.
And a half.
Okay, I got asked about the reunion. We got asked about that. What player would you say you played like the most and why? That was asked to me, so I think this is referring to the reunion. Do you have a Survivor player or a Survivor Maryland player you think that I played most like?
Sorry, I was reading. Can you say that again?
Which Survivor player would you say that I played like the most and why in the reunion? Or a Survivor Maryland player? Do you think I played like anyone?
Probably Nick from the most recent season of Survivor. Because he had like a lot of alliances all over the place, and he named them all. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for that take.
That's from Holly.
I was gonna say
Speaking
that
of comparisons that we hate, that's from Holly.
I was gonna say that I think I played like Jeremy in Second Chances. Which
I totally agree.
That's easy. You idiot. Okay. Did you?
What player do you think I would play the most like, and why? You've also, in terms of your game, I feel like you've compared yourself to Adam a lot. Like what the kind of game you think you would have on CBS Survivor. I feel like you compared it to Adam Klein.
Yeah.
I mean, not until like obviously you and he are very different people, but in terms of being like very sociable, I think the thing that you would bring that's different is that you're physically larger and potentially more domineering. And
call me big,
more athletic. Yeah, lose a couple pounds. No, like you're more athletic, so I think that would potentially put a target on your back, but also help you, like from a challenge perspective early on. But I think like socially, you probably play similarly. No,
Lita says you would play like Eric, who you don't know, Ice Cream Scooper Eric. I guess I could see that. I think Danny's less of an airhead than Eric in some ways. Like he would not get played by Suri in that sense. Lita, what do you think my Survivor Maryland reunion game was like? You probably are a better person who could compare it. My point with Jeremy was that he had a lot of different relationships that he had to manage, and he was a big target, but he used some other big targets for a while, and he cut some people when he needed to, and he just, I mean, he won, I didn't, but whatever.
Not salty in any way.
I'm not.
It's actually better.
I'm genuinely not salty.
It's really honestly better that you, because it would have
salty.
Totally rigged.
Don Meehan, Anders, get out of here.
Ooh,
I was considering bringing Anders onto the live stream tonight, but that I don't know.
All right, Audible. I'm bringing Anders onto the live stream tonight.
Yeah, you don't know how, so it's fine.
Anders,
Chris Noble. What is going on?
Well, now that we're on Tucket shirts.
I played like it's true.
Chris Noble. Wait, I watched the season and then went to Untucked.
Everybody knows. Everybody who is here knows that Chris Noble.
Bye, everyone.
Stop. Seabass Cross.
All right.
Scally, how would you feel about losing a memory challenge to Seabass? I don't think you want that.
All right, go to the next
Shannon,
question.
Nicaragua. Oh my lord.
You're just gonna get
Kim
offended.
Spradlin, Katie with the nice comparisons. That is why I love Katie.
Yeah. Katie's able to comment again.
Okay. What was it like to host a competition where some of the competitors find love? That's my Jeff Probst voice. It's time for some love. That's what he does in the family visit. He's like, let's bring out the love.
And the ball's dropped.
Yes. Not that.
Austin loses momentum.
Yeah, loses momentum. But the Bachelor gets unmuted. I don't know what just happened. So in terms of finding love, I didn't really expect that to be a thing from Survivor Maryland. It was very fun when it did happen. There were some, mini things that happened in between the seasons, people getting to know each other, but that was the most significant one. So okay.
If anyone wants that tea,
no, you're not giving that out. You're not. Whatever.
Again, I charge. But
and also
Venmo
somebody
is in the description.
Somebody asked if I knew about Shannon and Chris Thomas before she revealed it on the live stream. I was like, yes, I knew about 2 players that I played with. And also that was one thing I feel like I screwed up in the edit is like, I thought it was very obvious that they were like starting to have a thing and like each other. but people weren't sure and kept asking. So.
You actually, that was one thing I was looking for, was that moment, and we never really got it. I think it was just obvious to you because you knew them at the time, but watching, I was like, I'm not really 100% sure.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
Then after the fact.
But that was fun. It was a fun thing to happen. And oh yeah, there's Holly with the hookup web. Holly, you should sell that on for Survivor Maryland merchandise. You should definitely sell the hookup web. Right. That could raise a lot of money.
It's not my tea to spill. It's Holly's tea to spill. Yes. But I will still take Venmo.
Oh, I also saw something earlier about Survivor Maryland merchandise. I wanted to bring this up earlier and I forgot. First of all, you can find links in the reunion and stuff. We did sell shirts. We sold those Forever Immune shirts and whatever for charity. And those are still available for purchase. And we still have to donate some of that money. We've been waiting to kind of collect all of it. I've already donated the money we got from the necklaces, the partner necklaces. But if you have a merchandise that you want us to sell, specifically, I've been thinking, like, I know Ryan Kaiser wore the Siona was Rob shirt. That would be a great one to put on. If there's a Faluque thing someone wants, or something Forever for Immune. All Stars or whatever, Forever Immune already happened. Yeah, that's the one we sold.
We should make more.
There are more. People can go buy more. There's a search Survivor Maryland Marketplace. If you need the link, just hit me up. It's on Twitter and YouTube and a bunch of places and Facebook or whatever. But if you have a T-shirt design for literally anything you would want for merchandise, we can make that happen as long as it's a pretty simple design. I'm not good at Photoshop. I can edit video, but I cannot put together a Photoshop. And that's been the reason we haven't put out more merchandise. So there are 60 of you in the chat. If somebody has that talent, and I know Brian Scally does, let's be real. If you can just make us a very simple shirt design, please let me know and send that to me, and we will make it happen. And I would love to sell some more shirts specifically for charity, but it would be a lot of fun. So maybe the next one is the Tony I Like Pussy shirt, hopefully with a cat. Wow. I like cat.
You know, you're starting to become those people that show up to sporting events and they're like Lamar fucking Jackson. You know what I'm talking about? Where they just make shirts that are just like expletives with all of the things that are related to it. Like when the Penguins were in the playoffs, it was Sidney fucking Crosby t-shirts. Yeah. That's just you.
Oh, okay, I guess.
For Survivor Maryland.
When else have I done that?
I like pussy. With it.
That was one. That was the one.
Yeah, fuck your friends, literally.
Oh, that's true. That would be fuck your friends would be a good one too. Anyway, please send me stuff. Wow, Lita, that's an interesting comparison. I kind of like that, but I feel like the only issue is that I needed to be like a more obvious threat because people did know me. And did think I was out front for a while. That's the only thing I would say about that one. Okay. If I remember correctly, you mentioned that Alex Chi was not originally part of the All-Stars cast and was brought in last minute. Who was originally supposed to be in his place? Okay, it was not a last-minute switch. He was pretty soon when I did casting. I actually extended the offer to Alex Burkow because I thought he deserved a second chance, but also he helped out on crew for years, and I partially just felt like I owed him that. But Alex Burkow decided he wanted to be on crew, so it was a relief for me, and that's when I offered it to Alex Gennario, who had sent me so many essays about how badly he wanted this again, what he would do differently. He was really self-critical, and I like that a lot. I personally don't regret putting Alex G on the season. Certainly, my ideal for that spot would have been Zach. But Zach would have been great, but Zach didn't respond to me in the when I was doing the casting, and he then asked me the day before the game. And while if I was a CD producer, sure, I switched Zach and Alex G. You know, we were already locked in. It would have been really screwed up. No, I would not have recast Harry. I've always talked about I would not have done the Harry thing again. He had already graduated, though. He was annoying. He was very. I think Harry's a good guy. He
Harry
was
breaking the fourth wall.
Very annoying to deal with, and did not understand the idea of a fourth wall. Correct.
Oh, he did. He just broke it all the time.
He thought looking at the camera and going, "Hi, Mom," is not funny. I don't know why I could not get them in his head. Phil would have been in the cast potentially too, but I had it didn't seem like he really wanted to play, and honestly, I didn't really want.
It would have actually crippled Chris Thomas's game.
It would have.
Chris can't handle Phil going out. Phil, spoilers, went out second in Survivor Maryland reunion, and Chris Thomas almost stopped the game and had to restart it.
Yeah,
because he wanted Phil to stay in. Yeah. So, yeah, Phil and Chris to the end.
Yes, look, one true pairing.
There's your OTP.
Yeah. What was the idea behind the All-Star shirts? Swale asked. If you're asking about the front with the Happiness Foundation, that's an anti-drunk driving campaign. That's something that I had known pretty well. I knew the people involved with that, so I put those on all of the shirts, or at least for Guts and Glory and and Maryland Outback and All Stars. So that's why you get the front of those, and then the back was the logo. Ever heard of someone? This is a question in the chat. Ever heard of anyone choosing Maryland as a school with Survivor as an incentive to go there?
They're giving out scholarships now.
It has very recently become a little bit of a thing, and I think there's only one person who I'm pretty sure did it for that reason, and perhaps you will see them in the future on Survivor Maryland. But
who? Oh, definitely.
Yeah. No. I'm pretty sure he said that. Maybe there were there might have been other reasons too, but whatever. But so I think Anders, you know who I'm talking about. Yeah. I think that's right. Isn't that right? I'm pretty sure that he came to Maryland almost specifically for that. Lita asks, "What are your Patronuses?" That's a good one for you.
We talked
the big Harry Potter fans. Mine was the puppy, right?
I think both of ours were dog related, but you thought mine was an otter. I think mine could be.
Yeah,
an otter.
I think that you're a spirit animal, or maybe it was your spirit animal.
I mean, we're talking about spirit animals. But I think that's literally what a Patronus is.
Oh, Lita also asked what your boggarts are too. Mine is snakes. That's probably
yours is a snake. Mine is an empty plate and not enough sleep. No, mine's probably mosquitoes or spiders. I'm not a fan of either.
Those are two bad ones. Yeah, mosquitoes is really that big to be a boggart?
Mosquitoes is big for me. They find me delicious and it hurts.
Yeah. Also, Anders, of course, is making the otter into the tribe thing, that's not the reference. It's more of the personality of an otter and whatever. But okay. Faluke does not follow you on Twitter, but does on Facebook. Why? Do you have beef? Is that because you're friendly with Victoria because she helped you film future seasons, thus making you biased in the Victoria versus Faluke argument? I did not know that Faluke didn't follow me on Twitter until this mention.
On Twitter.
Does she really?
Yeah, because we were DMing about. I was inviting her to.
I'm pretty sure she followed me too, but maybe I will say, first of all, Faluke and I have no beef. We've talked on occasion and friendly. I know that sometimes she doesn't want to be too over involved in the Survivor Maryland stuff. Like she liked when she did, she really liked the kind of resurgence of it when All Stars was airing. But I know she doesn't want it to be, it's been a very emotional thing for her in a lot of ways. So she doesn't want to overdo it. So maybe all the tweets, whatever, she just was like, I don't need to see all of that, and that's why she unfollowed. There's no beef. I have no idea, but we're still friends on Facebook, so it's fine.
Am I allowed to answer that question?
How would Anders do if he played?
Yeah. Is all of that content out yet or no?
Reelfoot? No. Don't spoil a different fan-made Survivor.
What if I did?
I would be not surprised if you did.
Well, Anders is on Reelfoot, so if you're actually curious how Anders would do if he played, watch Reelfoot.
That's true. I don't know when they're releasing their episodes, so
plug. I'm here for all the fan-made.
I do love Jorge, their editor. I just have no idea when they're releasing stuff. Without being rude, Holly has some red rashes. What is that? Stress? Well, Holly's in the chat, so you can definitely ask her. But as far as I know, it is just like when she talks and stuff in confessionals or whatever, she would get like a rash. Sometimes I get that. Maybe it's a drinking thing too. I know some people get red when they drink.
That is what it is.
No, I don't think it's true. No, it happened in confessionals too, so I don't think it's that.
She was drunk. Probably.
Not in all of her confessionals. She can tell you that. I don't know.
Holly says she's allergic to alcohol.
I think that's true, so she does get that.
So that's what it is.
Yeah. If Chris T had hypothetically lost the Final 5 immunity challenge, say Holly wins, for example, do you think Victoria would have still gone, or do you think Chris T would have been targeted instead? Okay, so there's two scenarios. If Holly wins immunity, I think if Holly wins immunity, I think Victoria probably still goes, not Chris Thomas, because of the relationship that they had. If Victoria wins immunity, then I am really not sure. I think there's a real chance Chris Thomas stays in that scenario because of a lot of promises that were made, but it certainly would have been tempting for everybody to vote out Chris Thomas in that spot. That's a good question for Victoria, for Holly, Ashley, and Eric, whatever. Holly can maybe answer some of that. And I know Holly, and I will say I've mentioned the Diamond Column podcast that I did. They also are going to be doing some player interviews with a few of the people, so look forward to that in the coming days and weeks.
Is that a Diamond Column plug?
That is a Diamond Column plug, but they deserve a plug. And there's also going to be literal Survivor Maryland player interviews, which are more fun than hearing me talk. So,
which is better than metaphorical.
You can ask that question there. That'll be, I'm sure, something that comes up. I love the All Stars cast. What is everyone up to now? That's a lot. There's a lot of people, but people are doing great. They're living their life. People have jobs. Some of them are going to grad school. Chris Thomas is in law school now. Chris LeComte just got a new job. Schubel's living his best life. Holly's doing medical stuff. Shannon's in grad school in Florida for physical therapy or occupational therapy. Micah's got a nice job in DC area. Victoria has been traveling. She's doing fun stuff. I don't know. I'm not going to give everyone's life update, but they're doing a lot of stuff.
To everyone.
Yeah, I feel like I covered a lot.
You probably somebody, and it's kind of sad.
Oh, Ashley's working at Disney World now. She's awesome.
Oh,
she totally wanted to. She had a dream to do it. She uprooted her life and just went and did it. Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
That's sick.
Yeah. Carl said Ashley's working on her bucket list. That's really funny. Just remember she got hit with water. In the water. Okay, just making sure. Okay. We are through a lot of questions. So the next ones are life questions. So how have your lives changed since season 5 ended? Well, I know for me, I don't know if that means like when All Stars stopped filming, that was graduated. But in terms of when the season stopped airing, how has life changed? You get to see me a lot more.
Well, I still saw you.
But like me in like a human form.
Well, yeah, because you would just come home and immediately start editing. I don't get to binge as many TV shows because I don't get as much alone time. I now have to like entertain Austin regularly. Yeah.
So sorry.
No, life is great. We actually get to like go out and hang out, and our entire lives aren't around this commitment and scheduling for it and all of that. Because now we can actually go places. We can go to DC and hang out with friends for a weekend without having to schedule in, oh, is Austin going to have time to edit and all that.
It's very nice to say yes to plans and not feel bad about it. Whereas like there were weeks where times during the week when I had to like very specifically budget, like, can I take this 2 hours out?
Convincing Austin to do the Survivor Maryland reunion before he knew what it was, the week before he was supposed to air the finale of All Stars, was one of the hardest things I've ever convinced you to do, because you were so engrossed in the idea of just like going into a cave and editing for a full week straight and never coming out, and convincing you that we were going to go camping when neither of us actually like to go camping
was a weird thing.
And I'm still shocked.
Chris Thomas
that you
really. Well, it was like, I guess it was a Chris Thomas. He's a little bit of an outdoorsy thing, and lived in Frederick, so it wasn't totally
yeah. I mean, that part sort of made sense, but getting you to sign on at that time period was difficult.
Yeah, it was tough. I was not happy about it.
But anyway, now we can do whatever we want, and it's great.
And like, you know, it really like it was such a long period of my life of focusing on this that really I've been trying to like, you know, catch up on TV and pop culture a bit, catch up on my relationships and my friendships, and like I need to definitely get some new hobbies or whatever, because that was such a big time suck. But for now, I'm just enjoying like being a real human for a bit, and it's fun. Also, I'm gonna learn to cook, so
you heard it here first. There's your commitment.
That's the New Year's resolution.
I bought Austin a cookbook for his birthday because I love cooking, but I also love coming home to food on the table if I'm the second one here. So yeah. See how that works.
Yes. What was the transition like from college to the real world? Well, for me at least, it was pretty easy because I stayed an extra semester. I got everything I wanted out of it. It was a pretty easy semester, and I had All Stars, which was so much fun. So then I had like 3.5 months after I graduated to kind of relax a little bit before I went into working. So that was great for me. If you can do that, if you can afford to do that or whatever, stay an extra semester and then have a little bit of a break, then do that. It's great. Travel, whatever you want. I realize that is not feasible for a lot of people. So you had a much more traditional transition into working.
Yes, I started working almost immediately after school, like a month after, and I kind of regret it. So if anyone is in that opportunity where you are graduating from college or like having a major life moment end and there's something else beginning, push it off for a little bit and kind of enjoy that break, because I kind of wish that I had taken some time and maybe traveled or maybe done something fun as opposed to hopping straight into the workforce. I mean, the experience was great and all of that, but yeah, I definitely was a little envious of you and the amount of time that you got off. Although it also made our schedules totally different, because I wake up early and Austin was like just getting to bed when I was waking up a lot of times.
Right. That was a weird thing for a bit. Yeah. Definitely lived different lives for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry, I realized I forgot a couple questions. Great. Okay. How did we meet?
You want to take that, or do you want me to take that?
I do not want to take that.
I can take that.
Yeah.
So we met on Tinder, which is great.
Which, to be clear, Tinder now I know is a little bit of a cesspool, and maybe always was, but for like finding people when you're gay, like it was like this, like the safest, most legit option of things out there at the time.
Well, right. For two guys who are fairly straight presenting,
Wow.
Well, except for you, who like just were both closeted at the time, it was the opportunity to meet people you would otherwise not have exposure to meeting. So in that way, it was great. And it's kind of funny. Austin messaged me first, and his opening line was, "Hey," and I ignored him because I was like definitely very deep in the closet at the time.
Are people actually? I don't know if they're being seriously surprised or not.
It's Anders.
No, not that one. Not Anders. The other ones. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, so I was like very deep in the closet at the time, and when he messaged me, I just like ignored him because I figured actually that you look familiar, and that scared the hell out of me. And then Austin messaged me a week later and was like, "Hey, I saw you at the pool on campus."
We didn't have to get this specific. Yeah, I was totally a creeper.
And I was and then
persistence matters, kids.
Then I'm not anonymous anymore. So then I started responding to him, and we hit it off like immediately. And it was just awesome conversation, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah. Getting roasted in the comments. Great. When you know, you know. I think that was true with us. It just really is the chemistry. So.
Yeah.
RK, which I'm not going to say is Ryan Kaiser, but it could be, said, "Why does it hurt when I pee?" And I feel like the best answer is you should go get that checked out.
How?
I mean, I'm not saying it's not Ryan Kaiser. Also, it was totally Greg asking the question. Let's be real. Is it true that you think Greg Friedberg is the best-looking college Survivor host of them all? Also, this question is for Danny, not you, Austin.
So I'm clearly biased.
For Greg?
And I was going to say Anders.
Oh, right.
That's the end. That's the end of
okay,
I think Anders is the best-looking
Sorry, Greg.
Host. You guys are really in for a fun season of hot Anders.
Yes.
Okay. No, I actually think Austin is.
Who of all the cast do you find the most attractive one?
You answer.
No, you.
Should we do a guy or a girl? A guy and a girl?
Sure.
Probably Shannon and Micah. I think we actually we played this game before. We had like a who's the hottest member of Survivor Maryland. I think the answer, like easy consensus, was Micah. So hey, wow. Micah.
Micah is winning tonight. Oh, Holly says Micah too. I'm going to give a shout out to Nicole Locke and Cassie from season 1.
Wow.
Both
throwback to
very
pretty.
We don't
girls.
Know. Very pretty. Oh no, Nicole Locke was in season 2. What am I talking about?
Yeah.
But she's very pretty. And someone on a related question says, "I'm still in love with Marissa. Is she single?" And the answer is no.
The answer is no. The answer is also that so Marissa is dating my college roommate. And
for a while.
They've been together for a while. They just moved in. They have a house in the area, so we're still friends with them. We still hang out with them. And funny story, so this boyfriend of Marissa's and we are still like in the same friend group that we were in college, and we all were in my best friend's wedding. We were groomsmen in his wedding, and I took a picture with Marissa at the time, and they were making like the wedding gift was magnets. Where you take a picture and someone prints it onto a magnet. And someone took a picture of Marissa and me, and Marissa liked the picture so much that she put it up on her fridge in her house with my friend.
Yeah.
So people go over to her house and they're like, "Oh, is this your boyfriend?"
Well, it was really great. I also am thinking of when we first figured out that Marissa and this person were dating and the connection that we had. Mm-hmm. You texted, or we were texting John, her boyfriend. We were texting him like screenshots and clips from Marissa and Terrapin Trials, especially when she's like drunk and tribal and like in her sunglasses. Mm-hmm. And he would just like show these to her, and she'd be like, she didn't know that we knew him. Mm-hmm. So she'd be like, "Where are you getting this from? Oh my gosh." That was pretty fun.
Yeah. But yeah, I go probably further back with Marissa Horn than you do.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I thought you definitely do with Senti, so.
With both.
Yeah.
Marissa and Senti were roommates.
It's true. Okay. We'll go with instead of the way it's phrased, Ding, which is F, marry, kill. LeCompte, Zach from Terrapin Trials, Micah.
Well, I think we've already made our infatuation with Micah pretty clear. So Micah's not going to die. Or, yeah, we had a kill? Was that? I'm not going to edit that either.
There's a kill.
Okay. I think I'd probably kill LeCompte.
Whoa!
And Ding / we've said fuck so many times.
Okay, it's fuck, whatever.
I'd probably fuck Zach, and I'd probably marry Micah, just because Micah's lovely, and I love hanging out with Micah.
Wow, LeCompte just died.
I mean, it's fine.
Unreal. Okay. All right.
Wouldn't you? What would you do?
No, I don't. I can't answer. I'm the host. I'm in the dad role.
You're nothing now.
Nope, can't do it. Okay. Why do you pretend that season 3 is worse than 2 and 4? Because your opinion is false. I don't think I pretended that. I think in real time, I had the least fun doing that because I think it's a little bit of a slow season up until the end game, which is crazy. And it was tough for me because the ending was so dark. But I think it's an incredible season, especially like having understood the storylines at the end. And I really did not think it was going to be good until I went to the editing and put it together. I wish there was more footage from more of the players. It was a little bit all towards a few people, although Fluke and Victoria, who dominated the season in a lot of ways, were so great that it was okay, and the relationship was so compelling. I certainly understand why a lot of people have Terrapin Trials as their favorite season. I don't know. I've seen so many people have different opinions of which of the other 3 seasons are the best, and I don't really know the right answer. Season 4 is the best produced, I think, best challenges, best editing and film quality, whatever. So that's tough for me to not say that because I feel prouder of the product and I feel like I really had learned a lot. But I think if 2 has all of the footage, that probably is the best season because of just how crazy it was. Besides All Stars, I think All Stars is the best in all assets. What is your favorite season besides All Stars, Danny?
I have Guts and Glory has a special place to me because that was my first Survivor content ever. And when watching that, I think we were already friends with all those people, right? Or a lot of them came after. But those are the people that I think predominantly you hang out with most of any cast, other than All Stars, obviously. So I feel very strongly about that.
It's probably the Outback people.
Maybe. I don't know.
I really liked the Guts and Glory class, and it felt like a really organic Survivor
I
season.
love the Guts and Glory class. And that's all I have to say about that. No, I love the Guts and Glory cast. I also love that season, and that was the beginning of like a real true turning point in you as an editor and a storyteller. And I think in that way, it definitely makes for a more cohesive product, which is more enjoyable. I think, because I agree with you on the ending of season 3 in terms of the actual content. It was so compelling and so heart-wrenching, and you really felt it. And you really in a way that's very atypical of any actual Survivor content that I've seen.
Yeah. I don't think it's hyperbole to say that there is very few, if any, moments in any Survivor season that is as dark as that.
Yeah, I mean, it was just an all-around vibe.
People mentioned Palau, which you have not seen. That's the only thing I can really think of.
But Fluke, from that moment with Victoria, where they were both touching the sundial, to her absolute meltdown in Final Tribal. She, in my opinion, during that season, went a total 180, went from liking her to really not liking her at all. Yeah, I mean, I think that in that way, that season's also up there too. But all of the content has been amazing.
Great. Really you say it as you fall asleep during some episodes.
Well, yeah.
Danny's not great at watching TV in the middle of the day. We've learned that. We've overcome that.
The 2:30 is not a good time for me. That's nap time. 10 and after is nap time. But if I watch anything in the morning, I'm good. So I'll just rewatch it in the morning.
All right. Dom or Colin?
We actually talked about this last night.
Wow. Behind the scenes.
I mean, we did. But only because this question was posed and we wanted to make sure we were prepared.
Only on this one. It's a very tough one. And now you're on the spot.
Should we both choose one so that they both feel good?
Okay, choose.
Because we agreed. which is bad.
3, 2, 1.
Colin.
There we go.
And now you'll never know which one was the consensus choice.
I really like them both. It's tough.
They're both awesome, and we love hanging out with them whenever we get to.
And you know what? I mean, Colin does Snapchat me more, and we podcasted more, I think, than just me and Dom. I don't know. Me and Dom have actually ever done a solo. We did the half of that podcast, so maybe I should say Colin. I don't know.
Wow.
Oh, there's Colin. Colin showed up. Where was he? He just showed up out of nowhere. He like had a bat signal for his name. Okay.
Yeah, it's the cocktail effect.
It really is. As he is Google alerts for voice. As you know, the Mike Brown Ferguson riots were a worldwide topic, and this all happened in Maryland. Okay, I think this person might be confusing Maryland and Missouri. No. I got it. Relatedly, the Freddie Gray riots, which were similar but a little bit after, happened in Maryland.
Yes.
And I wanted to bring that up because you had a very interesting story related to that.
Yeah, I was there.
Yes.
I went with some friends of mine, and I were going to a Baltimore Orioles game at Camden Yards, which is like right in the neighborhood of where all of these things started. And we drove into Baltimore and were stopped by police, and they asked us to like just hang out on the side of the road. And we were immediately just swarmed and immersed in the march earlier that day, which was a relatively peaceful march, but people were definitely coming up to our car. And it was a little bit intimidating just because we were in the middle of everything and people were coming at us. And then we parked, we went and hung out at the harbor, we walked around, and as we were coming back and headed toward Camden Yards, we turn and there's like people getting into, there's a mob forming, people are throwing fights. We saw someone throw like a cooler in the air. People started stomping on cars, and then armed guard, like full on SWAT, and it was maybe 100+ ran past us toward the group. And then the mob, for lack of a better word, all of a sudden broke out and started running in our direction back toward the police. And it was like the beginnings of everything. They went and smashed a Chipotle window, which is like just still tears me up. And then we went to the game, and that was the night. So if anyone remembers that time period where there was a baseball game that was played with 0 fans in the stands, we were there the night before, where they locked us in the stadium because of the riots were going on, and until they felt like we could get everyone out safely, and then didn't open the game to fans the next day. So there were 0 fans in a ballpark for the day after. So yeah.
And now we live in Baltimore. Danny took that experience and decided to still live in Baltimore. So
yeah,
clearly
we watched The Wire and we experienced that.
But I mean, they were a worldwide topic, and it was crazy when Maryland, and specifically a city that I'd interacted with a lot in my life, was such a big part of it. And it's I think really sad to see when it devolves to that. But I think we both would say that we're sympathizers of the cause, and what drove so many of those protests and rallies. And I mean, we both feel pretty strongly about how absurd it is with Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reed and that kind of thing. So, I'm glad we're at a point where we're not having those really dangerous riots all the time. But I hope that there is real progress happening in local communities with that. And I think there's still a long way to go in a lot of places.
Where do the lines in the middle?
It wasn't really in the middle. I think that we both feel pretty strongly that that issue still deserves recognition.
Yeah, I mean, there's a time and place to discuss this, and we could do it another time. But
our next political podcast that we're starting.
Our first.
Do you feel that you have peaked in life? How does it feel to possibly have peaked at your age? Is that a good or a bad thing to you?
This is something else we've talked about, actually.
It has. I'm going to hope not. I don't think, yes, this got in the Washington Post or whatever, but I don't think this is a life peak. I think that this is a really fulfilling and satisfying thing that I did that I can always hang my hat on, but I don't view it as a life peak. So.
And you and I, we had like kind of an emotional night talking about this at one point where, because I challenged you. Because one of the things that like made me fall in love with you was seeing the amount of passion that you have when you like this Survivor Maryland thing, and the amount of your love that you put into it. Like that's amazing to me. Anyone that can really truly allow themselves to be passionate about something can give that passion in other places too. And so that to me was like one of the first times where I really felt the way that I feel every day. And so I challenged you one night, and I asked you, okay, so now this is done, where else are you going to find that passion?
To be clear, it was not done yet, and it was a tough question to answer while I was slaving away over this.
Right.
So that was tough.
The answer is cooking. Austin's going to find his
That's
passion
what it
in
is,
cooking,
and I'm going to get on
make meals for
Chopped,
me all
and
the time.
yeah, that's going to be the peak when I win Iron Chef, and I'm a famous food chef.
So everyone come over to our new apartment and watch Austin.
Yes. But, and I think for you, I mean, I think that you have had a similar thing that you had to go through in that you really excelled as a basketball player in high school and college and gained a lot of recognition from that. And you had thought when we were initially started dating about going to play overseas and things like that, and really like did have that potential and that option. And, you know, I think you had to adapt on finding different things that you did define yourself by, that you did have potential in, and you certainly know that with work. And I think, you know, one thing for you has been opening up more and feeling more comfortable in your skin as like being gay and wanting to be an advocate for that. And, you know, I think you're still looking for ways to do that, but I always remind people that, like, I mean, at this age, we're 25, there's still a lot of time left to peak. And there is like, we're running out of time or whatever. But I appreciate Matt Cronin saying that watching Survivor Maryland All-Stars was the peak of his life. Wasn't it for all of us?
Certainly for me, actually. That was it. I feel like I'm on the way down now.
Are you ever going to do a heroes versus villains seasons? Maybe like a last season or a special season would be awesome. There are so many people I would want back. I talked about this on Dom and Colin too, but initially All-Stars was going to be heroes versus villains. That was the theme idea. Now with so many seasons, I mean, I would love to at some point do like a cross-generation or cross-college Survivor game at some point. And now that I'm a little bit further removed from producing and doing this for so long, it's like now more enticing at some point to do that again and consider making that happen. So maybe in the future. I mean, like I said, I'm still getting back into real life, and I want to have other hobbies in that. But I do know that I like putting these on, and like whether it's even filming some of it and editing it, like I feel like it would be fun to happen between college battles and generations of Survivor Maryland and so many fun people. So maybe at some point that could happen. Somebody asked if I was going to do a fan Survivor online or on Skype or whatever, and there are people who are great at doing that you can find. That's not something that I'm really interested in doing.
Well, the other thing too that's a possibility, so stay tuned if we actually end up doing this, but after Survivor Maryland Reunion, a lot of the people that played in that were requesting that we do it once a year, every year in perpetuity. So we do have a Maryland and others theme that we've run previously. There could be some room for some others if anyone wants to fight to the death to see who can make it in. There's potential.
Yeah,
you don't get a say. I host that.
Oh! As long as I don't have to host, you play whatever you want. I don't care. I'll play every year.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, got some questions about. It's already 11:03, so we should probably get through this. And this is the last kind of batch of questions I have. But questions about the future of Survivor Maryland. And actually, this would be a great time to bring Anders on. Anders, if you're there, I'm going to send you a link to the Google Hangout. And if you would like to join, feel free, since you are taking over and I am old news. So let me send you the link. Anders. I can answer some questions that are specifically for me. I don't know what the heck that audio clip that Anders sent me in August of 2017 is.
Should we listen to it?
Live on air. I don't know. It could be anything. Greg, I know you're not Greg Freeberg. Maybe other people don't though. But shout out to Greg. Hi, Greg. Greg, Survivor Maryland legend. All right. Will there be I'll answer that question. Austin, how involved have you stayed in the seasons after yours? I have stayed involved as much as I can. Obviously, not being there, it's different, and I also don't want to be overbearing to the different hosts. I think when Anders was first transitioning, I was pretty involved and tried to help out as much as possible. And I'm sure he felt suffocated for. Oh, Anders is in the chat. Anders.
Hello. It's me, your favorite host.
Guys, look, it's Gaming Anders.
Look at this. Yeah, Gaming Anders. Did you get this?
What's up, guys? It's me, your boy Anders, the next host of Survivor Maryland, single. What are they saying? What did you say? All right. Well, I don't have the question, so I can't
Okay.
do it.
Okay, I don't know. Anders, how are you doing? How's life?
I'm doing great. I live on the West Coast now, so it's only 8 o'clock for me. I work at a job that's like 8:30 to 7:30, so it's really great. I love it, and I miss Maryland a lot. I graduated like 7 months ago, and now I'm an adult.
So now that I know you've been very excited to put out your first season, and you're almost there. I've had to either convince you to just be patient and get it because I know how tempting it is. But you're finally about to put it out, and you put out the first 8 minutes, and it had a great fan response already. So how do you feel now that people are watching your stuff?
All right. So when I first did season 6, the only experience I had with Survivor was All Stars, and it was like to host it. I was like, why aren't they exactly like the All Stars? I was like when season 6 got done, I was like, this wasn't like All Stars at all. And then as I've gone through it, as I've edited it, I'm like, why did I ever think season 6 wasn't a good season? It's amazing. And like just being able to make this thing that happened 3 years ago come alive on screen for people to like it, it's such a good feeling. Like I used to make videos and they were garbage and no one needs to know that.
To be clear, garbage that had a lot of views.
A lot more views than
that. If anyone
Survivor.
wants the link.
That's we've put it out there.
I'll put it out again, but I won't link.
But yeah, it's great that people really want to see it, and I'm glad people love Tony so much. I love him. I didn't love him in the moment, but I love him now.
I had to convince you to cast him.
Austin loves to do this thing where it's like, remember when I said that I didn't want them and you did? It's whatever. Okay, yeah, I didn't want Tony at first.
Yeah, so that goes to the question of how involved I stayed. Too much for Anders' liking. Personally,
yeah.
I consider my main role at this point to be the casting director for Survivor Maryland, which is not true. The hosts get final say, but I've remained very invested in that process, and I try to let them do more of their own thing otherwise.
Look, Austin is great. You know, he gives a lot of good advice, a lot of good guidance, but Austin is very bad at not talking and like overriding with his opinion sometimes. Like we just did a escape room, and me and Austin got into a fight because I wanted to do something. He's like, no.
You were doing bad on the Morse code. I don't know what you were doing.
Yes.
Okay, so
Anders was the MVP of this escape room by far.
So Austin was very involved, and so was Chris LeCompte and Holly and Micah and Evan during season 6. But as time went on, they all graduated, and I started just doing it by myself and with the help of like my players and other people, including the next host of Survivor Maryland. But you don't need to know about him for like another 12 years, so who cares? And
to be fair, yeah. I feel like I very much backed off by the time you're doing your last couple seasons for the most part.
Yes, but it definitely took me like saying to you, Austin, I need you to back off. But
well, no, that is not even true, because you also were for one of the other players was convincing you that I was doing stuff when they were controlling you, and you hated me for a bit because you thought that I was ruining your All-Star season because I was mad, even though I was defending somebody else who did something. Let's not even get into that story.
Okay. Look, me and Austin are great. We work well together, and then sometimes we really don't. But Austin was a great help, and like Austin is everything I wish I could be in a host. He's a lot more even-keeled when it comes to hosting, whereas I'm a lot of people use the word sassy. Also, aggressive is another word, and mean. So get excited for that. I do yell at tribals. But yeah, Austin's great, and he was very helpful when he was helpful.
I feel like I always was trying to be helpful.
I didn't say you weren't. I just said when you were helpful, you were very helpful.
My favorite thing about these two is their dynamic and how they're always on the same page. And also, if anyone is looking for a real life example of Austin getting upset when he's like being challenged or when he feels like something is unjust, and you ever like want to see him on a Survivor season, this is it right here. If Austin feels like anything is unfair, he gets very upset.
I think that's the thing is me and Austin are similar in that, right? Like we're both very type A, very like we have opinions and they're right no matter if they are or not.
Yeah, but mine's just more right usually.
All right. Well, I just wanted to make a statement. I didn't really need it to become a thing. But yeah, me and Austin, the first message I ever sent to Austin was, hey, I'm the guy from Orgy. We've only gone up from there.
It's a website, to be clear. It's a website.
It's a website called Org Universe with a Y instead of in front of the U, so it's just shortened to Orgy.
Nice.
Yes.
Plus the orgy we had in college.
From Drag Race.
Anders, how did you not literally metaphorically get the torch passed to you? How did Austin give it to you?
So I said to Austin, okay, I need you to do this to me because I think it would be really funny. I gave him the torch. He brought it over to me. I said the line, and then I immediately break it because I'm very clumsy. And this will be a common theme throughout my 5 seasons. I break everything I touch.
Even hearts.
Even hearts. Almost every single tribal immunity thing or individual immunity necklace, I just, it breaks. I drop it or I'm putting it on and then it snaps, whatever. It's just how life is.
I'm so ready for the second generation of breaking items.
But I want to get back to the original question, Anders. How did you convince Austin to let him give you the keys to Survivor Maryland?
Desperation. He didn't have any other options, so he had to go with me. His only
option, I want to do this, and I was like, sure.
Yes, it was also desperation on my part. I wanted it very badly. As a sophomore whose only thing on campus was driving a bus, I was like, I want to do something else with my life. So I found Austin, I found Survivor Maryland, and I gave every hour I had that I wasn't asleep or driving a bus. And although I had a lot of
beep bitches.
Beep beep. Yeah, no, I had done like some. I don't know what the word. I'd always been interested in leadership roles, and yeah, once I heard there was like an opening here, and it was about Survivor, I was like, yeah, I'm all in. I'm balls deep,
That's right. Well, like that, yeah.
That's another t-shirt you should make.
And here's the thing, Austin, like I think Austin appreciated my bigger, like you were saying earlier, Danny, about passion. Like I came to almost every single thing I could in All Stars, and like I knew nothing about any of what Austin was doing, how the game was going. Austin barely told me how the game was like.
You didn't even know to film horizontally.
I didn't know how to film horizontally at first. Thank you, Crystal Comp. So, but I was there every single time. It was cold. It was late. The first travel I went to was at 2 a.m. on a Saturday, and I said, yeet, of course I'll be there.
Drunk tribal.
Drunk tribal.
Yeah. No, and Anders coming in like episode 6 of All Stars legitimately saved my life. So thank you for that.
I loved it. I loved every moment.
So I got a question. What can we expect from the new host? Well, they can already tell by now. What can we expect from the new season? I don't know. Do you have a tease you want to give?
Absolutely. Season 6, it's not All Stars. That doesn't mean it's bad. It's amazing. I think that with a whole new host and a whole new cast and the title being New Beginnings, it's not just it's not just flavor. It's not there because I needed something to make it different, and I was like, new beginnings. Flavor. What's weird about that?
I don't know. Yeah.
It's a descriptive term. Okay. Anyways,
I like it, Anders.
It's a different style, and I think it's going to be a really fun season. I think it's just going to be different from what you've seen in the past, but different in a good way. It's going to be a new direction. And I think, before you were always thinking about how does this compare to, when Holly and Victoria fought, or when Feluke and Victoria fought, or when, the dog tribal or whatever, like all of that. Now, my Survivor seasons will have its own references, its own little inroads and season-long storylines and everything that's completely unique to itself. There's very little overlap, which is great because it's sort of like a whole new show. Because Austin storybooked his 5 seasons very well. All Stars is like perfect to storybook and how he did as a host. And I think it's great that mine is also, in a way, self-contained.
Yeah, and I mean, like someone asked, like, well, what is your guesstimation on the new flock of Survivor Maryland legends? Do you think they might live up to the legendary status of the OG, whatever? And like, I can say with confidence, there are legit, like, many new legends from your seasons who are absolutely 100% would be cast. People that I did try to cast in some cases, or to get to play, like, there's plenty of, it's college, and that's part of the fun, is that there's always new people coming in, and that's why I think this could work at so many different schools. But you're always going to have new people, interesting people to find, and it's like an even better casting pool in some ways than the real show, because we're not pulling from the same pool. We're literally getting a new refresh every year, and there are some really awesome people.
We have, I think, some just complete. You might want to try to compare them to the old ones, but it really is completely different. These people aren't a Chris LeCompte or a Chris Thomas or a Shannon or a Holly. They are completely new, completely different. Sometimes more evil, sometimes not as evil. Sometimes more fun, sometimes less. It's a whole new grab bag of people, and season 6 has a lot of really good characters. And I think you're going to see the ones that shine very quickly. And it'll be a fun season, and I'm excited for it.
Now people have been asking, I got a lot of questions on this. Will there be any returnees from the first generation in generation 2 or 3?
I'm not going to spoil it, but the answer is not no. Because the thing is, like, for Austin's returnees, Austin was very lucky that, or I guess this was also planned, like, he cast a lot of people who were sophomores and freshmen. So then when he was doing his last season, they were all seniors. I did not have that same distinction. My people were cast from all 4 years. So often it was like, I just didn't have every single player every time I wanted to use them. Meanwhile, there are some people from Austin's seasons that weren't graduated when he was. So there are potential people that could be brought back in my seasons. Doesn't mean they will be. You'll have to find out. But all I know is that I'm very happy with how my seasons have gone and who I've brought back and what's happened. So if I brought back anyone, you'll find out, and hopefully you'll like them too.
I'm excited to find that out myself, personally.
Me too. Unspoiled.
We have our own Boston Rob that we bring back all 5 seasons. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah. Tony will be cast on every season.
He's
spoiled now.
Someone posted in the first 8 minutes a conspiracy theory that we planted Tony.
That was
and
great.
I read that and went, what if we were that powerful that we cast someone that crazy? I wish. No, Tony's a totally real person. Maybe you'll find out why he's the way he is. Maybe you won't.
And I said this just based on what was covered in the first 8 minutes. Everything he did there happened, and then, like, he was probably 5 times weirder than that. Like, it was unbelievable and so funny.
Yeah, there's a good
Secret scene
bit of the first episode that's like not included. And, there's a whole lot of weirdness in it, but it's not anything worthwhile necessarily putting in. Look, I'm not trying to make my episodes 3 hours long. I could, but
good.
I'm not.
Yeah. Good question, Anders. So you gave them Domino's pizza before telling them they had to vote out one of their own. Was that a nod to all of the Domino's from Survivor Maryland, including Micah and Schubel getting rocked out? Was that a little Easter egg?
I thought you were going to go with, which one was the punishment, getting voted out or Domino's? And I got
Domino's is actually pretty good.
I wasn't going to disagree. I just thought it would be a funny joke. The Domino, yes, it was both a reference and the cheapest option for how much I had to buy. So I'm a thrifty bitch.
And that definitely was not the number one reason. Okay.
No, it wasn't. But I'm glad you saw that in it.
I'm always here for an Easter egg when I have my notes with me.
Somebody said, how long do you think Survivor Maryland will go for? No idea. Currently, we're on season 12 is about to happen soon. And, I assume that the third host will do a couple more seasons at least. Hopefully somebody will take over after. That's really what it comes down to. I would hope it goes on forever. I'm not sure that it will be edited and put on YouTube forever. Personally, I'm wishing good luck to Anders on getting 5 seasons out. It's a lot, and there's a lot of footage now. And I was lucky that I got a lot of it done during college and didn't take quite as much footage in the early seasons.
I believe in you, Durs.
But,
I think we're in different situations too. Because I work in LA and, like, I want to work in reality TV production. So this to me is as much a passion project, but also, like, this is me living out a dream of mine. Also, you know, over over the 2 weeks I had vacation, like I was so bored. What do people do when they don't have like 100 hours of footage to edit?
It's a good
Like,
point.
It's really like, if I don't do this, what am I supposed to do? Like, go outside? No. Play sports? I'd rather die. So it's hard to say really what there is to do after it. So I'm gonna just enjoy it for the next 10 years as I slowly edit.
Awesome. Okay. I don't know. I had more questions sprinkled in, but we covered a lot of things. I want to open it up to things I have not answered in the chat, or that we have not answered for Danny, or for me, or for Anders while we're here, and hopefully get to wrap this up in a little bit because we should probably go to bed. But we have a solid. What?
It's only 8:19.
That's true for
also
some people.
Untrue.
He's on the West Coast.
I know, but it also should be 8:21.
Well, yeah, I don't know what your timing is, Andrew.
Wow, someone called it out. Carla's coming back. Queen Carla.
I know there were some interesting questions in the chat earlier that I missed, but so if there's something that you guys want to repost, feel free. We've held a solid 60 people for this, and people have not just totally abandoned us and gone down to 3. So
yeah, it's probably just leaving it on in the background of The Bachelor.
It probably is, but you know what? That's okay. That's better than turning it off and making me feel bad. So, yeah, this is your last chance for any questions before I'm never
ever
able to answer questions again.
You don't want to answer those last 2 questions.
What? Unless you want to, you can go for that.
No, thank you. Kind of inappropriate content.
What is Senti's major? That was my favorite part of All Stars, that she decided to major. I believe she was econ and something in business, marketing maybe, or
disappointing people.
I don't even remember her major to me.
Damn it! A funnier joke would have been major disappointment.
Major conflict.
Major conflict.
The Reddit sleuths were on it.
How could they find it?
Anything you wanted to do? Well, that was like when Jack, my friend Jack Stavenik, found a video I had made for the Survivor Maryland dodgeball team before All Stars had aired, where I happened to include what does it say?
Nothing appropriate.
Where I happened to include the the footage of like Forever Immune and Feluke, and like that was crazy. Luckily, I got them to not spread it anywhere. But yeah, people are sleuths. Anything I wanted to do that was like vetoed by the university. One thing that was tough was they were really ridiculous about the pool, and that's why it was so hard to do water challenges. I don't know if you even ever tried, Anders, but did you have anything that they vetoed?
I did have one time.
Besides your funding application, like 7 times.
All right, well that's a different thing. That's not university. That's Pepsi. Hey. Thanks, Pepsi.
Oh yeah, Pepsi helped me though.
They helped me once. They fucked me over. So this one time we were doing a challenge outside, and a police officer stopped by and was watching us. And I turn around and I go, "Is there a problem?" He goes, "No, I'm just watching." Meanwhile, we have like 10 of our people holding these buckets full of water, like screaming out in pain. I'm like, dope. No, I never had any actual like issue on the university. Like the only time was because we have fires, but the people involved with us or the greater community are always like, it's okay because we know who you are and what you're doing, and like we've okayed it. I've never had any issue.
Yeah, I've talked about that. I had like 3 cop incidents at various times. One was in season 1. I was doing Fallen Comrades, and we lit papers on fire, like pictures of everybody on fire on top of a garage, and they like 4 cop cars drove up real quick and whatever. And then I was like, oh my god! And then they were like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm just like filming something." Or I was like about to explain filming a game, and they were just, "Oh, you're making a movie? Great."
Oh, you know what did happen to me? This is not like a law thing, but I was filming in my dorm a couple times at night because when else am I going to film a bunch of people doing a challenge? And people were just like, "You're being really loud." And it's past 10 p.m. I know it wasn't RA and like there are quiet hours, but also shut up. It's the lobby. Like that's the worst I had to deal with was people being like, "You're too loud in the lobby of this building."
Oh, yeah. I also had the cop who saw me setting up the blindfold challenge and was, "Are you smoking weed?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm setting up the challenge." He was like, "A weed smoking challenge?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Why would I have cones for a weed smoking challenge?"
All the best ones do.
It did not make any sense, and then he went away.
Although you had your own RA troubles, Austin.
Brenda, yeah.
Name her.
Feel free. This is a real plug. If you have not listened to the Dom and Colin podcast that I did with them, about 2.5 hours in,
Wait, Austin, who did you do the Dom and Colin podcast with?
It was with both Dom and Colin.
Okay, good.
I told a story about what happened immediately after the votes were read for the All Stars finale. And it was certainly an ordeal. I don't really feel like rehashing it again tonight, but I very much encourage you, if you're curious, to go listen to that. Greg, you know what? We're going because we're fun. You go to bed.
I'm okay with
Who won the college football championship? I actually forgot that was tonight until earlier. Anders, is all season 6 done editing? That was asked.
Anders, who won the college football championship?
Danny, that's not a fair question because I don't know. Who won? The Ravens. Okay.
Was that the question?
Okay, don't waste our time. It's already 11, almost 11:30. Are you done editing?
No. I mean, like, I have everything set up in the way it should be. I just have to fine-tune it. And like Austin, it'll be weekly releases, so hopefully I won't have to take a break, but we'll see. But for now, it's weekly.
Oh, Clemson's beating Alabama. Wow.
Okay. We don't
great. Yes.
Let's not waste time.
The great Stephanie sent me some questions on Twitter that were put in the chat, so that's very nice of her. Where is the iconic flag on the wall? It's over there. So we're just in a good spot right now to comment both of us. Great question. Vinny was here. I didn't even say hi to Vinny. He asked from Survivor Time Change. He asked, who's the best Survivor player in all of Maryland? I assume that means Maryland Survivor player,
in the
not
state
like
of
Sarah
Maryland,
Dawson
from the state of Maryland.
That's a really good question.
I have an answer, but I can't.
I've always had like a top 10 list of who I think, and I've bounced around with this. I think there's definitely a case to be made for Victoria. I think there's definitely a case to be made for Katie. I think there's a case to be made for Holly. I think that there is a case to be made for Schubel. To me, it's probably between Victoria and Katie. And in terms of someone that I think if you put in any season, how will they do? I've always said I think Katie is just phenomenal and is really good. And
God, when your parents are like talking about when they were young and what was cool then? That's how I feel because I'm like, I want to talk about my player's dad.
Well, I know I try not to spoil your season.
Katie's a winner of Survivor Maryland, and there have only been officially 5.
Yes, that's very true. So are we saying that she's tied with Terry and
yes,
Steve?
Terry did win a season against Victoria.
That's what I'm saying. In terms of best player in the history of Survivor Maryland, I stand by Terry.
Right,
deserving win.
Great. We're all in agreement. Okay. Question for Danny. Do you prefer Austin while editing or Austin post-editing?
While editing, I watched Glee all the way through fairly easily because I had no distraction. And then post-editing, I've been able to watch Glee again. So it's the same to me, honestly.
Great. I'll just go back to editing.
And I'll go back to watching Glee. Glee's getting a lot of love tonight.
If I had to put the 5 winners thus far in a final 5, that's a tough question. I don't know how to answer that. I have no brain power left. Is there anything else we want to talk about? It's 11:30. I feel like we probably shouldn't drag this on too long.
Ooh, Glee caricature rankings. So
I can't help with this.
Probably I'm going to go Darren, Chris Colfer. Which is, and then
where does Chris
else.
Thomas and Chris LeCombe rank into those 4?
In terms of the Chris's?
Yes.
Well,
and Chris Noble.
Oh my God. Darren, Chris Colfer, Chris Thomas, Chris LeCombe, Jesus Christ Superstar, Chris Noble.
Got it.
Not high on Chris Noble.
Wow, what a Chris Noble hater. But what about his Untucked shirts?
Yeah, it's all right. The rapping thing, like
Matt Ligori is very mad that Matt Ligori post Bachelor is very mad that you didn't say Santana no more.
Santana.
Who's that?
Oh, Santana from Glee. I thought we were talking about Chris's still. Yeah, okay. I mean, in terms of like the queer characters on Glee, Santana also cracks my top 3. But
are there only 3 of them? That's not
no,
true.
there's many.
Mine is the Flash.
It's not a character on Glee.
Yeah, it is the actor for the Flash.
Yes, it is. You're right.
He sang Uptown Girl.
He did sing Uptown Girl, and he also sang against Santana in the Michael Jackson episode.
And they threw rock salt at I don't remember the other kid's name.
Chris Colfer.
Yep.
Kurt. Hummel.
I didn't watch
definitely
Glee.
lost the live stream to Glee, by the way.
You've also lost me, so I can't contribute.
But we gained a viewer.
This is really the true passing of the torch.
By the way, guys, more important than Glee, I mean, this might be, season 6 coming out next Monday, the 14th.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask. Do you have a time?
For it, probably gonna be 7:30. I'm gonna schedule it beforehand. So you'll see.
Eastern or
Yes, yes, Eastern. So it'll be like on your subscription box. It'll be like premiering, blah blah blah. Because I
say it like that in that voice.
Yes, I have to, Austin. It's a reflex.
Yes, Greg, I do.
What did Greg say? I'm not.
He wants Danny to join your alliance that I'm not part of.
Oh yeah, Danny can 100% be in that.
I'm the Michael Jordan of College Survivor, per Greg Friedberg.
And that Austin smokes too many cigars and his eyes are yellow.
Yes,
he's washed up.
Both of these things are true. Definitely washed up.
Ugh, Austin would make a fucking sports reference.
No, Greg made a sports reference, to be clear.
Okay, Austin.
Oh my God, we're gaining viewers. How do we end?
You're gonna have to
the
go.
Glee content really
Anders and I are really what's keeping this thing alive.
Woo! All right, let's talk about RuPaul's Drag Race.
Now that it's 8:19 on the West Coast.
Yeah, everyone's tuning in.
All right, here's a hot Drag Race take.
So probably 7:30 next Monday. We can be excited. The premiere is what, an hour and 4 minutes or something?
An hour and 2, give or take.
Okay. Well, is it a give it? I feel like you've done it.
Well, I'm still putting in the final touches.
Okay. All right.
Anders, I love you.
Thank you. I love me too.
Stephanie did ask, and I know we've talked about this a little bit. Anders, are you having live stream chats?
So like I said before, with it, there's a lot less. It's not All Stars, so there's a lot less to talk about. I may float around the idea of doing like one for the premiere, one for the merge, and one for the end. But that only depends if people really want it. Because if not, like I will just let it, sit and you can absorb it and think of your feelings and feel them. And put in the comments. But I would be open to doing it. It would just be a little bit later than these because I live on the West Coast. Did you guys know I live in LA?
I will also be hosting the unauthorized recaps.
Don't.
No, but I'm very excited to watch it and check it out and see you do your thing. And 1 week away. How crazy. I'm
so excited and I cannot wait for someone to be like, Tony says the word pussy, and I had a lot of feelings. Should I put like a warning before these episodes if people do say like words that may not be mainstream appropriate? But it's probably fine. Just be warned, there may be words that aren't.
Somebody asked me to bleep out every curse word in All Stars, and I was like, yeah, no.
Fuck no.
That's literally what I said with the curse word in the response. Yeah. No. Okay. Can't wait. Very excited. We will, look forward to all that. I'm sure everybody in the chat at this point is excited. Thank you guys for coming and watching and being part of it. And thank you to Danny for joining me. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Check me out on Monday nights at 9. I'm starting a podcast.
DHAP.
Yep, DHAP.
About what?
You should actually give people your social media handles so that you can gain more followers.
Sure, thanks.
Yeah.
At DHoff5.
Twitter
is my Twitter. Danny Hoffman 5 is my Instagram. I guess. I don't even know. Probably. I think that's right.
Pretty sure that's right.
Yeah, that's it. And then Austin's email address is...
Anders, where can people follow you if they haven't?
Well, if you want to know more about Survivor Maryland as it comes out, follow the Twitter at UMD Survivor. That's UMD Survivor. And then follow us on the.
Before people can spell Survivor.
Okay. Sorry. I just wanted them to hear it. And then follow the new Survivor Maryland channel on YouTube. Why is there a new one, you might ask? Because Austin's old one is attached to his email, and he didn't feel comfortable giving me access to that. What? Like I'm untrustworthy?
I floated out that we could do that, and you were like, no, I'm just gonna do my own channel.
Okay. Well, sure. We've definitely had conversations, and
yeah, yes.
Regardless, follow the new one, which has the new Survivor Maryland logo and a pink background because I'm gay. And it's pretty. And then if you want to follow my personal Instagram, it's at what? I said to plug and I'm going to. I like lights. It's at N D as in Delta, E as in Echo, RS game. Like the book, Ender's Game.
I like it. It's clever.
Thanks. I came up with it myself.
Great. Okay.
How can they follow you, Austin? I'm just kidding. They don't need to.
Well, like I said, this was probably supposed to happen months ago after All Stars, but whatever, that would have been too logical. So thanks everyone for joining really late. Glad that we are getting excited for season 6 and all that is to come otherwise. I will not be a total stranger. As I said, my Twitter gets no love if it's not for Survivor Maryland stuff. So I will just keep posting it, whatever.
Also,
but I can't wait to follow.
Feel free, guys, to come on the Reddit Survivor Discord or to tweet at UMD Survivor or do whatever. Like, send us messages, engage. I love that shit. It's so much fun. Sorry, I love that stuff, guys.
Hit me up
so wholesome.
Yeah, hit Danny up on Twitter if you want to talk more, Billy. But yeah, feel free to chat us whenever. We can always answer more questions. So it was fun to do this on air, but it doesn't have to be on air anyway, and I'll answer whatever. So it is still very nice whenever you guys spread the word about Survivor Maryland, about All Stars, about season 6, about the future, about just that you watched again and you liked it. It still means a lot because so much went into it, and it can all end very fast. But love you all. I don't know.
I love you more.
Anything else that you guys want to say?
I don't have anything else to say.
Oh my god, that was rough.
I'll do it by myself.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks again, and see you for next week's Survivor Maryland Season 6 and the other fan-made survivors that I mentioned at the top. So there's great college survivors coming. Michigan, Boston, Ohio State. Check those out and give those creators a lot of love, too, because we know how much time goes into it. So, can't wait to be an obsessive fan for all of those and have more time to watch those. So, great. Okay. And we'll see which one's the best. It's always a competition. Bye.
Bye.
See you guys soon.